Right, good afternoon and welcome to the public board meeting of June the 17th. It's our final public board meeting of the current school year. And today, as we begin, as we gather, I would like to acknowledge the traditional territories and oral practices of the Indigenous peoples of the Treaty 7 region and Métis Nation of Alberta. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our community. First on our agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items that a trustee would like to pull from consent agenda? Jenny.
Technically, they're actually not listed on consent agenda, but I will just speak really quickly to Division School Council as well as Policy Advisory Committee. I didn't provide reports for those ones. I can just speak to it now if you want. I just didn't provide reports for those because the meetings happened in such close succession to this meeting. And so there was no minutes yet. So those reports are coming.
Okay, would you like to wait until the September board meeting, or would you like me to enter information
I don't think you need to
items?
add it. I'll just let you know that that is the reason those are missing.
Okay, certainly.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Definitely, sometimes there's a tight turnaround
Yeah.
between those meetings and putting the board package together. Thank you, Jenny.
Yep.
All right, seeing no hands up to pull anything from the consent agenda, we will move to approval of the agenda. There are a couple of amendments that I would like to make. Under Superintendent Report, 8.7 Preliminary Assurance Results. I'm going to move that up under 8.1 Assurance Priorities Report, so those will be delivered together. I'm going to add as on 11.3, we have the draft governance policy omnibus. I would just like to amend that to say first reading. It is the first reading of that omnibus. On 11.7, we are adding, under action items, we're adding vehicle mileage rates. And I am looking for an approval to the agenda. Tyler, those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Nope, we're good. All right, we will move on to approval of the minutes of the board budget debate of May 26, 2025. Christina, thank you. Those in favor? And that is carried. Now I am looking for approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 27th and opening up if there's any errors or omissions in those minutes, sorry. Christina, thank you. Those in favor? And that is carried. There's no business that is arising from the minutes, so we will move on to Associate Superintendent reports. We will begin 7.1, Business and Operations. This is the final report of Christine Lee, our Associate Superintendent of Business and Operations. So I will hand the mic over to you, Christine.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, my final report, and I dedicated most of my report to saying some thank yous. After 26 years, there's lots of people to say thank you, and overall, and my biggest thankful is to the division because it's been an incredible journey, and it's been honored to serve. Was honored to be a graduate of Lethbridge School Division, and so I'm just so amazed at how wonderful this division works together in a collaborative manner. And everybody moves together to ensure that we're working towards one mission, and that's for our students. And it's been again I've had a lot of wonderful memories. There's lots of memories I can't talk about in public, but I've had a lot of wonderful memories with Lethbridge School Division. My first thank you, of course, does go out to the facility services team. I'm trying to keep the order of my report. We have an amazing maintenance team, caretaking teams in our schools that care deeply about making sure our learning spaces are safe, warm, clean, welcoming. And, we have a wonderful Atwell office team that all supervises that. And so I've learned a lot about facilities over my years, in some cases more than I cared to learn, but I did. And so that's been very rewarding working with that team. Moving on, another matter of facilities, it was such an honor and a privilege to show off West Cooley Station Elementary School to the trustees and our senior leadership team last week. And you see from the pictures, it is a beautiful space, and I'm excited for the opening in September and to welcome new schools. And as it says, building schools is awesome, and it has been one of the highlights of my career to be involved in building schools. The picture you see there, Avis, I mean, we talked about her receiving her CSBO, but I actually got to present her CSBO at the Associated School Business Officials conference last week as well. And so that was a very proud moment for me to do that, see her grow in her career, which leads me in, of course, to the big thank you to the finance team. The finance team, people aren't really aware of what the finance team is there unless, of course, you don't get paid. Then they're there, and or bills don't get paid, that sort of thing. But they make sure that they're constantly making sure that we have best practice in one, managing our operations and reporting, and making sure we're fiscally accountable to the public and transparent. So they do a great job. And I got some exciting news at, again, the Association of School Business Officials Conference. I was awarded with a life membership, and this organization has been like my lifeline over the last 26 years. That's my network, my colleagues. We share ideas, best practice, talk each other sometimes down when we're a little, we're having some issues. But an amazing organization, and it has been a pleasure to be involved with that organization for the last number of years. So it was quite an honor, because now they can't get rid of me because I'm a life member. And so that's lovely. To technology here, you'll see we've reported a little bit. Technology is very busy over the summer. So just like our facility department is busy cleaning our schools and polishing floors and making sure everything's taken care of, doing some of that maintenance that we need to do to make sure our schools are ready. The technology department is, they're re-imaging all our PC computers across the division this year. We've got new laptops that are going in, removing outdated devices to make sure that our systems are secure and that they're functioning properly. And then on top of that, they're setting up West Cooley Station Elementary for all their infrastructure, PCs and laptop in a very short period of time. So they're going to be very, very busy. And so I do have a thank you, of course, to the technology team. They're always doing innovative, crazy things that support our students, support our schools, and they really are proactive, and we are held as a model in the province for the work that we do in educational technologies, and I'm very, very proud of that team. Of course, transportation, we are a small crew, mighty crew that has a contractor that supports us, but I'll have to tell you, every day when I listen to our coordinator of transportation field questions and concerns about busing, because busing is never easy, and she just does it with such class and grace, and so I really do appreciate the work that she does and our transportation team does to make sure our kids get to and from school safely. And then, of course, a reminder, we do have our first ride event on August 16th from 11 till 2, and that'll be held at Lakeview Elementary School. That is a collaboration with us and Holy Spirit, as well as Southland Transportation. We have Tim Hortons supporting us. We have M&M Meats, and so there'll be food, refreshments, fun, and of course, bus rides for our kids. And then finally, I just want to say thank you to our executive council, Mike and Robbie, and oh my God, I'm going to cry. Mike and Robbie and Morag, who've been absolutely amazing to work with, and the support you've given me has been amazing. The rest of the leadership team and the Education Center staff, who are absolutely outstanding. And thank you to the board for trusting me and giving me your confidence. Yeah, I've had an absolutely amazing 26 years, and it's been an excellent career. So thank you. Didn't want to cry, but I did. Mike, it's catching on. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine. I will open it up to comments. Craig.
Thank you, Christine, for the work you've done and for catching my mistake this morning. Uh, I was just testing her. I double entered an expense claim. But I appreciate the way you've answered questions and the way we've worked together. And so I wish you well in your retirement and enjoy BC. Thank you.
Andrea.
Congratulations on your lifetime membership to ASBOA. That's so exciting. Thank you for the tour of the school. Seeing the grand staircase was everything I thought it would be. Thank you. And, oh, see, now I'm going to cry. Thank you for always showing up for students and staff. In the 26 years I've known you, you really represented our divisions so beautifully coming out to our schools. I'll never forget you teaching my class. I won a day off where Christine came and taught my class, and I got to come here, and then we met on the front steps and decided that we were suited better for our own jobs. But it was a privilege, and I just wanted you to know that people know that you show up and cheer people on and always have a beautiful smile and cheer on the kids. So thank you.
Looking around the room, I can say, Christine, you're regarded very highly in this room. And you are regarded highly throughout our division. Thank you for the 26 years of service. Thank you for the ways that you have served students. And I know everything that you've done has been tethered to the question of what is best for students. And I think sometimes we don't naturally connect finances to students. We don't connect some of the pieces that you do to how it has full impact in the classroom and to every child that comes through our doors. So thank you for using your gifts and your skills to impact students for the best and to give them an incredible education experience. And you have been a strong and fierce advocate for our division, for facilities, for parents, for students, just to ensure that we can impact students, but we can impact our community at large as well. And I know that you've been an incredible mentor to those who've come alongside you and after you, and that will leave a mark on the culture of our division for those individuals to be mentors to others that come alongside them and after them. So we wish you the best of luck in your retirement adventures, and definitely this board. I personally I'm grateful to have had the past 8 years with you. Thank you. All right, we will now move on to 7.2, Instructional Services Report. Morag.
Okay. Yeah, things are kind of coming to a close, but now we're starting to plan for September already. As you can see in the report, we've already started to plan for PL in August and in September. And yeah, just really excited about being able to offer the guidelines for conducting violence threat risk assessment with neurodivergent students in August. We have 40 staff members that have signed up for that, and that really does speak to just all of our staff looking for opportunities to learn about how we can continue to support our students with complexities. Our inclusive ed team had their final learning support teacher meeting. They talked about everything from complex needs busing, instructional support plan meetings, interpreter supports, coding updates. Very busy time for them, and just making sure that all of the documentation that's required is done before the end of the year and uploaded to Laserfiche, which is a really important place to hold all of the documents. Our early ed locations are just included here. So as you can see, we've got Fleetwood Bodden, Galbraith, Park Meadows, Westminster, Dr. Proby, Nicholas Sharon, and Mike Mountain Horse that will be offering early ed programs for the fall. Lots of news with curriculum and instruction. I've included some pieces here just for your perusal, and everything is constantly changing and updating, whether that's releasing the dates of what's being piloted and what isn't, and we definitely can provide greater clarity there if that's needed. Sad to see Kaysen and Sydney leave instructional services offices, and of course Jim Kerr as well. So we have some spaces in our offices that I've once always been complaining about we don't have enough room. I'm finding that we're gonna have lots of room where people might actually be able to have an office to themselves, but very sad to see Kaysen and Sydney go, but the great work that they've done has left a legacy, and already we were having people contact us to say, who do we contact to learn about digital wellness in the future? So that will be absolutely something that our new counseling coordinator, Stephen Kalm, will be supporting our schools and our division with. Mental health capacity building and family support, just wanted to make sure we put in the summer fun calendar for everybody, and then Ready, Set, Go. Lots of little pieces there within the report. Many of you may or may not know that Andrew Krull typically works throughout the summer, supporting our work experience placements and then registered apprenticeships. And just wanted to give kudos to him because he really does spend a lot of time in the summer connecting with students and making sure that workplaces and apprenticeship placements are appropriate and work sites. Very special thank you to Joel and his team. Many of you were at the awards night. There were over 400 students and family members at that night, and it was just a spectacular event. Special thank you to Melanie and Shawnee, who really commandeered organizing and making sure everything was in place. And then just lastly, a quick little update because some of you, I know Allison was there for our the Spanish bilingual event, or Spanish bilingual education association. They held an event and there were at least 200 people there, I would say. Weren't there, Allison? Really great event. And there's been lots of requests and just interest in where we are going or proceeding with our Spanish bilingual program in the future. And so I just thought I prepared a little piece here that I think it's really important to share, just so there's guidance and clarity for our Spanish bilingual families and potential Spanish bilingual families. First of all, we are incredibly proud of the Spanish bilingual program. It's grown and flourished over the last 8 years, and we definitely can attribute that to the commitment from the staff, from the parents, and from the teachers who have been in that program and championing the excellence. Lethbridge School Division is committed to growing the program for the 2026-27 school year to grade 9 and beyond to the high school level for the 2027-28 school year. An important piece of creating any program in an educational system, we recognize that as programs are built and they grow, sustainability of a program in an education system needs to be considered. Sustainability and quality of a program in an educational system strongly depends upon level of interest from the community, so student enrollment, and then resources available to provide robust programming. And we really do want to provide programming that has integrity and has tremendous reputation behind it. In 2017, Lethbridge School Division initiated a Spanish bilingual program at Coalbanks Elementary and Kindergarten in grade 1. We're proud of the interest and growth this program has experienced in the 8 years it's operated. We now have our first group of grade 1s in 2017 moving into grade 9. Unfortunately, we did not have sufficient interest from this cohort to explore Spanish bilingual programming in grade 9 at Chinook this year. One student from this cohort articulated interest in exploring Spanish bilingual opportunities in grade 9. I have worked closely with Keith and with the family to look at opportunities to do other Spanish programming, both in conjunction with Alberta Education, and then also a little bit more creatively in creating some partnerships with our other schools that we've worked closely with. As we continue to grow the Spanish bilingual program and the cohort sizes get larger, it's Chinook High School's intention to provide Spanish bilingual programming to the upcoming grade 9 cohort in the 2026 school year if there are sustainable numbers. And excited to do so. Keith has already been spending time communicating with the high schools in Calgary who also offer Spanish bilingual, and so the wheels are turning. According to the Guide to Language Programming for Administrators, grade 9 programming is recommended to include 35% of the target language for bilingual programming. Kindergarten to grade 5, the target is 40 to 50%. And as we progress through the divisions to the older age groups, there is a decrease of the target language as bilingual mastery has occurred. As we explore grade 10 to 12 programming and balance articulated interests and resources along with Alberta education guidelines, we aspire to offer a level of bilingual programming that compares to high schools in Alberta that offer Spanish bilingual programming around the province, and that's approximately 25% of targeted language instruction. In communication with Keith Vandermeer, we understand that he has forwarded out a communication to current parents of grade 7 Spanish bilingual students to inform them of the expression of interest process they will be following for the 25-26 school year. This communication happened on June 11th. It's Chinook's intention to send out a survey in October 2025 to parents of the grade 8 Spanish bilingual program students to determine an expression of interest and share potential programming options for parents to share feedback. Further, similar to the Coalbanks GS Lakey transition, Keith anticipates visiting GS Lakey Spanish bilingual program in the fall, connecting with the parents and students as planning evolves so collaboration can occur. And I just think that clarity was really important to share out, and we'll be sharing it out online as well for Spanish bilingual families, just so that they've got sort of that snapshot, because I think the passion is so evident with that group of people. And anytime you've got a language program, advocacy is such an important part of sustainability with that program and education. And so we will make sure that this goes out in the next couple of days to families. Okay.
Thank you, Morag. Are there any questions for Morag? Andrea?
Thank you for your report. And I just wanted to add my thanks to Kason and Sydney for their work with the digital wellness work that they did. They will definitely be missed. And a huge appreciation for the Indigenous Awards and powwow. They were just such fabulous events. So thank you to Joel and Mel and Shawnee and their team for that. And thank you for highlighting the Ready, Set, Go. How does that information get out to our families?
Through School Messenger, and then also through our family support workers in our schools, and then also our schools make sure that families that have been targeted and supported through the year receive that.
And if a child misses that event, is there an opportunity to get a backpack another time?
There are finite resources, Andrea, and we typically have managed to provide every student who has needed them the supports that they require. Poverty intervention also sometimes can play a role in that support piece. But in the bigger picture of things, we will always work with families if they miss the event to try and support them best we can in connecting them either with community agencies that might be able to help or otherwise.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a quick question about the Spanish bilingual program. Thank you for providing the information. I appreciated that, and it's great to hear that 200 people were at the event that the SBEA, held. I'm curious, have you connected with that association? And I know that, because one of the things that they were talking about was engagement. And so do you have any planned engagement outside of the survey that you and or Keith are going to be sending out in October? And I'm curious, when within the context, within that, the scope of the survey, are you just going to be looking at grade 9 offerings, or are you going to be looking at a 9 to 12 offering? Because I think sometimes I appreciate the the decrease in numbers of students who continue to move forward with the bilingual program. And I'm just curious is there a decrease in numbers because they don't have something tangible to say, oh, this is what it is, so I can't see to the end. And so therefore, we're just going to step back. And I think when we move forward with the Spanish bilingual program, I know you're invested in it. I know you're passionate about it. Um, I would like to have parents find confidence in the end goal to grade 12. And so can you help me fill in what is that 9 to 12? When can we expect a complete picture for the 9 to 12 offerings for students and families?
And similar to our elementary and our middle and our secondary or our high school schedules, I have little to do with the high school scheduling process. Often scheduling happens in March, April, and considers numbers, right? And so that is a moving target, and then staffing. That's a moving target that has to be considered, of course, for this 9 months in advance. What I do know is Keith has the fullest of intentions of scheduling and creating 0.35 FTE of Spanish bilingual for the grade 9 group. The models that are very similar that Keith aspires to create, if the resources are there, 10 through 12, would be 25% of programming. Okay, so that looks like one block through a semester. Typically in our high schools, what we're looking at is sort of a Spanish language arts and films arts study that goes 15, 25, 35. And then there might be an extra Spanish language arts in there. But again, it would be preemptive of me to establish a schedule or go through that, because I do think there does need to be consideration and collaboration with families. What I would anticipate seeing even in the grade 9 survey would be an extra piece to say, when looking at 10 through 12, here are some of the options we're looking at. Which are you in favor of, right? So that would be the next step for sure. And I do anticipate that Keith will be soliciting feedback and having an evening event even to talk about that with families.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Christina.
I have a follow-up on that. The different courses, just out of curiosity, are those the locally developed courses or are those Alberta Ed? Okay, cool. That's neat.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Morag, for your report. We will move on to human resources. Robbie.
Okay, thank you. I'll just go through the highlights. You'll notice in the QP 2843, I was giving a verbal report due to our first round of staffing wrapping up at the end of last week. So for QP 2043, we've hired 87 educational assistants. I provide the caveat that we didn't have 87 new positions to hire for. It's part of the collective agreement where there's 2 years to seniority, and so this is a very typical year where we would be posting that many positions and hiring for that many positions. So we have hired 87 educational assistants, 1 learning commons, 1 advanced educational assistant support, and 1 early learning educator, and early learning educators are non-union positions. So that would be the update for QP 2843. Round 2 went out yesterday. We did have 13 staff members, educational assistant staff members that had the ability and were successful with transfers. So you'll notice a majority of the vacant positions that went out yesterday were due to those moves. Also wanted to touch base on our teacher induction and mentorship program. We're really excited working with Erin Herkett and our ATA Working Conditions Committee to introduce blended teacher induction and mentorship. The mentorship will be a 2-year, where the induction program will be a 1-year. So we'd carry that mentorship into the 2nd year for those 2nd-year teachers to better support them. So we're really excited about offering that next year. I also wanted to just highlight what a phenomenal staff recognition the phenomenal staff recognition programs we have in Lethbridge School Division. I'll include the annual retirement banquet, our Friends of 51 with 32 community partners recognized, and our years of service that's happening for the most part next week. We're all going to be busy with that. And I did include some stats there. We do, I think we go over and above to recognize and honor some of the amazing individuals we have in our school division. So I thought it was worth mentioning again. Another highlight worth mentioning, all of these positive celebrations and highlights. 34 teachers with continuing contracts had the opportunity to transfer within our school division. And when I say transfer, that means voluntary, people looking for change and different opportunities. And so I wanted to highlight and celebrate that number. It does include West Cooley Station Elementary School staffing, but I think that it's worth noting that our teachers with continuing contracts do have opportunities for change and growth and development within our school divisions. So thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. Are there any questions for Robbie? Andrea, and then Jenny.
I too was so happy to see that 34 continuing contract teachers within our division transferred. I think it makes for a very healthy system, and that has been noted by staff. I'd also like to thank Carrie Fall and the HR department for the beautiful attention around the board retirement banquet. It was such a joyous evening, and her attention to detail, like the flowers, were gorgeous. It was such a lovely evening. So please pass on my thanks to you and the HR department. And I'm too excited about the mentorship program and getting out to schools for the years of service. So thank you so much for your report.
Thank you, Andrea.
Jenny.
I just wanted to thank you for highlighting that, those same 34 teachers, and I recognize with the new school, that number is higher than usual, but still a reason to celebrate. I know that that is an area that I've heard positive feedback on, that opportunity for teachers to have new and continued experiences within our division, and so thank you for highlighting that.
Thank you, Jenny.
Craig.
Yes, thank you and your office for doing all the work you do, especially this year under extenuating circumstances with the budget. I appreciate the hard work that your assistants put into helping you, and really excited about the service awards too, because we have a lot of teachers that have been here for a long time, and I think the reason they stay is because we try to treat them with respect and caring, and I know that your staff does that very well, so thank you very much for your work.
Any other questions for Robbie?
Thanks, Craig.
All right, seeing none, thank you, Robbie, for your report. We will now move on with our superintendent report, 8.1 Assurance Priorities Report. Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And so just a reminder on this report and where it came from. Last couple of years, we've been talking about more closely aligning our work with what the board's doing, what's operations doing, that sort of thing. And so this year, as you know, we do an assurance plan. It was approved last May, but last May. 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, it was approved. Seems like a long time ago. But really the year before, we did a lot of work to change it and get it the way we wanted. And so we identified priorities under each one of the domains. And so every month the leadership team just puts some things together. They don't try and catch everything, but just some things to help reassure that we are doing work in these areas. Also, the associate superintendents, when they do their reports, that's also part of it. And I asked Christine to move the one item, the assurance results, because all those things connect together. Assurance plan, we're reporting back to you on the priorities, and then we're also reporting back on the results. So we'll just go through. I'll hit a couple of highlights. Tina, if you could scroll down under student growth and achievement, there's a bunch of information in there that Aaron provided with related to curriculum. What I just wanted to mention is there's a little bit of a slowing down of the implementation of curriculum, which we really appreciate from the government, because as I've shared with the trustees a number of times, curriculum change is challenging, but it also creates opportunity for us, an opportunity to relook at what we're doing and more closely connect, you know, the learning objectives to the instructional choices that we make, to the assessment and the reporting that we're doing. And if we have a bit of time to do that a little more effectively, we can have some really positive impacts. And if we try and rush through it, then we don't quite get as good of a result. And that leads into the next one. We'll scroll down to effective assessment. Just wanted to thank the tech department and Aaron Herkett for the work that they've been doing on our report cards for the K-5. And you can see in there's been a lot of work done over the year. We know we've provided a lot of updates for you, and certainly it's back up under effective assessment, Tina. Keep going. Yep, stop. Oh, scroll back down. Yeah, right there is good. So we've done a lot of work on that. That's been an area of focus with the admin committee. I know that Aaron has done a lot of work, and there's been some real positive feedback from teachers and parents. That's something that we need to continue to work on. And again, it's that connection between what does the curriculum say, what is happening in the classroom, how are we assessing, and then how are we reporting on all of those things. And if those things are in alignment, then it's much more effective. But if we try and run through a whole bunch of curriculum, then maybe our instructional techniques aren't as purposeful, our assessment isn't quite good, and it makes it tough to make the reporting good. So when you can get all those things aligned and get really good curriculum, that certainly helps our teachers out and give them time to actually implement it, understand it, and figure out how to apply it in their context, which they do a marvelous job of. But the more time we can give, then the more effective that can be. Then you've just scrolled down just a touch, Indigenous student achievement. This might have been in the last board report, I'm not sure. And if it is, we're gonna highlight it again. Indigenous grad was absolutely outstanding, incredible turnout, 45 graduates celebrated, and that's a pretty big deal. So thank you to everyone who was involved in that. Then we'll keep going into teaching and leading, just stop there. I'll just echo the comments about the HR department. Certainly appreciate the work they've been doing. The midnight oil is being burned there in that department on a regular basis here, because as you know, because of the budget, we have been behind, and so that puts our staffing process behind. Also a shout out to our administrators, because when we look at 80 some positions that needed to be filled, that sort of thing, or interviewed for, it is our school-based administrators who are doing the majority of that work, on top of also doing their regular jobs and on top of doing all the wrap-up things and the preparation for next year. So it's certainly a busy time, and appreciate the work that everybody's doing. And then I'll just, if you scroll down a little more, right there is good. You know, Jesse Sedlowski and Johnny Mantello from the tech department going in person and doing school visits, the HR department working very closely with schools. Really just appreciate that connection between schools and the work that we do here in the Ed Center. I think that's really important. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, Tina, stop right there. Again, this one's mentioned, but thank you to everyone who attended the Indigenous Awards. Just a fantastic, fantastic evening. Really enjoyed it, and just an incredible turnout. And then the last one, we're gonna scroll down to, and if you're okay, I'm gonna maybe do some results, and then we can come back to this if you have questions. Division performance measures. So we've updated that one this year. We've changed it a little bit, but it's still the same concept. One of the things we've really been looking for is in our assurance survey results, we're really hoping to see some improvement in comparison to how we do with the entire province, and how we just do internally. And I'm excited that so many students showed up to hear my assurance priorities report, because let me tell you folks, this is the highlight. Like, this is gonna be the highlight of your year. You might wanna write this down, because we're gonna talk about assurance. Tina, would you go to that, yeah, perfect. Excellent. So I just wanted to share with the board, and what I'm gonna show you next is our assurance surveys. I'll show the required measures, and we're gonna show two charts. We know about the colored charts that the government creates to help us understand the measures. So If you look at spring 2024 and spring 2025, you will see a very, very big improvement. This is based on the survey results. So if you remember, we almost doubled the number of parent surveys that we had, and that was partially due to a change from the government. We worked very hard at the school level to intentionally connect the work that we do to the assurance surveys. Remember, in February, our town hall, all of the questions on town hall were based on questions from the assurance surveys to really try and align those more effectively and to get a greater understanding of how we're doing in relation to those. And you can see that the changes in there. Pretty significant. Of every one of the assurance measured categories, we had significant, improved significantly, which was absolutely fantastic. And that is student learning engagement, citizenship, educational quality, welcoming, caring, safe, respectful, learning environments, access to supports and services, and parental involvement. So very, very positive results there. We were really happy with that. And those surveys include parents, include students, include staff members, and in all those areas we saw progress. So we were really, really pleased about that. Not that we don't have work to do, and then we'll get the PAT information, diploma information in the fall. You know, we anticipate there'll still be work to do there. I think that's going to be another area of focus, and we need to kind of continue the momentum that we have here. But it's always good to celebrate a little bit of positive momentum here in June, and I think the charts speak for themselves. If you scroll to the next page, these are the supplemental measures. Some of these used to be required measures, some not. They've kind of moved them into the background a little bit. We're not required to report on them, but they give us some interesting information. Some of them, I couldn't tell you exactly why the government reports it quite the way they do. That's why there's supplemental measures. Like, it's kind of funny, our dropout rate is rated as high, but I think in this case that means we're actually good because it's low. So there's a few things that can be a little bit confusing in there, but, and we always do more of a deep dive into the fall into this when we get all the results and as we work through next year. You'll remember in strategic planning, we spent a lot of time on these results, and so we'll have a time to do a deep dive in it. But again, you can look at the chart and you can see a pretty significant difference in a number of areas. And so really pleased with that. Again, lots of work to do in all areas. We do really important work, and so we're not going to stop trying to do a better job, but we're certainly pleased with the effort. And I wanted to say a huge thank you to our school-based staff and administrators. I think they really did a good job of paying close attention to how do we connect the work that we do on a day-to-day basis with the questions in the assurance survey, so those two things are connected. So we're getting good, accurate data, and the mindset is very much, okay, we're gonna have some areas that improved and we know we're doing well on, but we're also gonna have some areas that we're like, we're not doing as well as we thought. And that's why it was so valuable to get more people taking the survey, because then we can have some confidence that it's an accurate reflection of what's actually occurring and what people are feeling, and then we can really respond to it instead of wondering, is this really accurate or not? So yeah, so kudos to everyone, and certainly a huge thank you to everyone who participated in the survey. The feedback is greatly appreciated. We take it seriously, and we're doing our best to continue to improve those results. And the reason I wanted to move that after we did the board priorities, assurance priorities, is that's a great example of connecting. So that's why we do that report every month, to talk about here's the work that we're doing. And then it doesn't always show up in these results, but theoretically there's a connection between all of those things. Yeah. So that's it for me, because I know we have lots of people here that, again, I'm assuming they're here just to hear about assurance results. So we're pretty excited. Yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I'll open it up to questions for Mike. Craig.
A comment and a question. At public school boards on Tuesday, Emily Milne, who's an assistant professor at MacEwan University, talked about a report that's just been released by the Alberta government called Advancing Educational Equity in Alberta Public Schools, and specifically Indigenous students and minorities. And if you haven't seen it, it's well worth it, I think, because there's some really good stuff about communication and making sure students understand what they're doing. And this is interesting, 2 key grades, grade 6 and grade 9. So I'll pass that on. The other question, the only question I had is, it shows that our 5-year graduation rate declined. Is that because more kids, more students are getting through grade the 3-year or 4-year and not 5 years?
Yeah, just remember that's a lagging measure. Obviously, graduation isn't done, the school year isn't done, so that isn't a reflection of where we're at right now. So we don't know on that. That one, I think it's a lag, like I don't know that they'll update in the fall. I think they update it a year after. But yes, our 3-year went up a little bit. The year before the trend was reversed, 3-year went down a little bit, 5-year went up. So there always seems to be an interplay. There's actually also a 4-year in there, and I don't know off the top of my head where the 4-year went. So yeah, there's a little bit of that. But just remember that's a lagging measure because we don't know. Students are still working. I suspect some of you wrote diploma exams today even, and so we're still working through
Okay.
that process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Andrea?
Also a comment and a question. So nice to see the significant improvements in the assurance survey. More blue and green is always great to see. And I really appreciate the school visits by Jesse and Johnny to check in on IT needs. And my question is, could you tell me more about Rochelle and our EAL team hosting Lethbridge Family Services? Have they collaborated before, or is that something new?
That's been going on all year, Andrea. Yeah.
Yeah, and generally speaking, we have a good working relationship and definitely reach out to connect, and they can provide us with a lot of information, particularly really helpful when there's potentially new groups of newcomers coming in, so we can prepare for that in advance, because that's one of our challenges. Sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's not predictable, and who's coming to Lethbridge, where are they looking to move, what supports do we need, those sorts of things, and that ability to really react and be flexible with our supports is pretty critical.
I think that's great, the collaboration and having that information ahead of time so we can be ready with supports. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mike? All right, we're still a few minutes before their scheduled time, so we'll keep going. All right, we'll move on to 8.2, donations and supports.
Awesome. Well, everybody gets to hear me talk some more. This is awesome. Very exciting. I can talk in monotone if you want, just like when I was a teacher. Hello, everybody. Okay. I'm not going to get any funnier, so you might want to start laughing right now. Like it's going to be dog jokes and riddles pretty soon. So, okay, I'll stop. You give me a microphone and an audience laugh. Let's get going. This is all live streamed too. Donations and support. Let's talk about another really positive thing. I am like a broken record when I talk about this, but man, do we have incredible support from our communities. It's just unbelievable. Like look at West Cooley Station Elementary. Like this is a school that hasn't even opened yet, and we've got all these donations, folks just trying to get together and make sure, that kids can have what they need in a playground and all those sorts of things. And then Emmanuel Christian Elementary, Senator Joyce and Lakeview also getting, some incredible donations. We're just very, very fortunate in this city, the support that people provide for our schools. So can't say it enough, but thank you. We are incredibly grateful. Then we'll get into acknowledgements of excellence. Yes, we'll start off with Westminster, and there is a through line in all of these. I'm obviously not going to go through it. One of the things that always jumps out at me is, again, that connection with community. And we just talked about the donations that we receive. And again, you're going to see a number of donations. We know Westminster receives a number of community partnership donations to help them do a whole variety of things. But that really does go two ways. You look at you know, you talk about at Westminster, the assemblies and the attendance at Christmas concerts and family barbecues, and it really is a two-way connection. So yes, the community gives to us, but I strongly believe our schools give back, and they really are a connection point for many of our families and many of our parents. And so just really appreciate that. And then again, you can see all the various things we do. If you look at our assurance results, we always do well on do we provide a broad programming for students, and you can just see it again in here in what Westminster does. So really appreciate the support that they get from the community, but also the way that they support the community. And I would say very similar for Fleetwood Bodden. You know, you've got parents in there serving breakfast for students every day. Lethbridge Montessori continues to be a partner with us, and we continue to offer a really strong dual track program there. You look at the improvements to the outdoor space, 3 new basketball hoops, bike racks, freshly painted hopscotch areas, all those sorts of things. Those are things that impact the school, but also positively impact the school community. And then again, you read through here and look, there's more generous donations. Like, we're just very, very fortunate. So again, that connection between the school and giving back to the community is really important. And then West Cooley Elementary, we just talked about it. You know, they're opening in, it says 5 weeks in here. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. Not, well. Officially taking ownership. Yeah, officially taking ownership, yeah. But again, like, the impact that we've already had on the community there is just so substantial. You see that in that we've raised $500,000 in less than 9 months for a school that isn't even built yet. That says a lot. And of course, we've talked a lot today about Spanish bilingual program moving there and how critical that's going to be to the culture. And, you know, I've said to Dean a number of times, like, and Dean Hawkins is the principal, in case you don't know, and Dean has done a really good job of setting up the school. Like, when we were on that tour last week, he knows his school. He knows what's going to be in here, what's going to be in here, and that's great. And we knew that about Dean, but what he's really done a nice job of is laying the foundation for creating a community, and that's what it's about. And certainly bringing people together, and that is going to be a school that very much feels like community. I think the layout of the building will make it feel like that. And then bringing the Spanish bilingual program in there, that is a group of folks that really believes in community as well. So it's going to be pretty cool to see. And we're excited about it. So great things happening in our schools. Really fun to highlight those 3 elementary schools. And like all of our schools in the division, they do a great job.
Thank you so much, Mike. So now we'll pause from our agenda as it is, and I think it's a perfect segue from acknowledgement of excellence to celebrating some of our provincial champions that we have in the room with us. So right now we have some Griffins and some Bulldogs, and there was some gold medal champions at the provincials 2 weekends ago. So we would like to extend sincerest congratulations to the Winston Churchill High School 3A girls gold medalists. Congratulations, ladies. And this is at the 2025 ASAA Rugby 15s Provincial Championships. I was able to take in some of these games, and you played phenomenally. These girls have grit and passion and determination and a very strong sense of team. And so congratulations all. I'm sorry for my back to you. I don't like my back, but congratulations to you all. We also have some members of the Winston Churchill High School Bulldogs boys rugby team. They took home the Alberta Schools Athletic Association 3A Provincial Championship with their victory over Strathmore High School by a score of 25-2, and they were also able to play some games in the 4A zone as well. So congratulations, boys. So what we like to do is we like to, I know you had your celebration at Sharing a couple of weekends ago, but as a board, we just want to celebrate and recognize you here as well. And so we do have some certificates for you. So what we'll do is Mike, our superintendent, and myself, Christine Light, I'm board chair, we will stand here and perhaps we'll have one of the coaches come to read the names and we'll help hand out the certificates. And then we'll have you stand on the stairway, and then we'll take a group photo. And I'm just thinking out loud, I think what we'll do is we will have both teams together. So we don't have a two-man team for the boys' team. Let's do that. Yeah? Okay, I think so.
Allie McDonald. Young. Faith Takarayak. Oh. Sorry. Got used to. Chanel. Caprica. DeRoches. Kayla Shemansky. Cassie Trechka. Shannon Court.
It'll just be fine.
Yeah, John apologizes for not being here too. He's got a meeting. He's got a million meetings with ASAA and different things this time of year, so. I can just tell you, I will find them. Oh, man, alphabetical, you're gonna be near the bottom. Hold this for a second. Just come here, that's not yours. Yes, it should be. Alphabetical first name or last name? First name. Oh, okay. I'm close anyways. Here we go. Let's do it. Zach Light. She doesn't do that for everyone. Last name right. Yeah, and then I'll just speak quickly. We just have a whole bunch of other boys. It's real tough, I think, for the guys on our team today, including John, the head coach. So, yeah, it was a little bit tough for us to get here. We also a couple of young coaches, actually three, Eric Burwa, Brendan Albright, and Alex Halverson. And yeah, for us, it was a little, I think, bittersweet this year. This is our fourth three, but we had to win one match to get for our boys. So I think we had our sight on that 4A, which we thought we had the capabilities to do. We actually lost a preseason game to the 4A champion by 1 point. So had some injuries in that first match that hurt us a bit, and so that's kind of where we ended up where we're at. We still got the 3A title, but I don't think anyone was that excited about it this year, just under the circumstances. So that's where we're at.
Well, we're excited about it.
Good job, guys. All right, and now we would like to extend our congratulations to the LCI 4A Girls Gold Medalists. Congratulations. I saw this final game. It was intense. It was very intense, and it was well fought, and it was well won. So congratulations, ladies. So you saw what happened, and so if we could invite one of the coaches up to read the names.
We got Addie Silk. We have Alana, and I'm going to attempt to say her last name. Ella W. Grace Claus. Cami DeJong. Liv Swift. Ooh, Madison Cooch. Mila Baker. And Sydney Shields.
All right. Well, welcome esports team members. It's great to have you today. Today we are recognizing a number of strong showings on the weekend at the Alberta Esports Championships in Calgary at the Bow River College Esports Arena. So it's great to have you all here. The LCI Samurai Gold Squad won the provincial title, competing in the game Valorant, as the squad went a perfect 7-0 throughout the tournament. Well done. That is awesome. LCI's Valorant team is comprised of Coach Mike Harrison, along with players Matt Federick, Gabe Gorner, Gavin DeYoung, Rocco Dagnon, and Isaac Gill. And LCI's Rocket League team came in second with a 6-1 record. Congratulations. Coached by Will Kellett, the team include Igram Podell, Cade Fraser, and Alex Vervecken. In Super Smash Bros., LCI's Clayton Barfus, who is coached by Jesse Gamble, finished second out of 110 participants. That is awesome. Show Perversive and Wyatt Barfus of LCI both placed in the top 7, as a total of 7 LCI players made the top 16 in Super Smash Bros. So those are really incredible results, and we applaud you today for, I know this is a lot of work and a lot of time goes into this, so thank you for your time spent and your dedication to this. And so as a board, we would like to celebrate and recognize you today. So thank you for joining us. So what we will do is we'll have your coaches come forward and we will call your names. We have some certificates for you, and then following the giving of the certificates, we'll just take a group picture, and your family members are more than welcome to take pictures if they're here as well. All right? Or do we have a coach? One of the coaches that, yeah, come on up.
If you could just call up the kids who are not here, just skip through. I'll hold the mic.
Gavin DeJong. Gabe Gorner. Unfortunately, Isaac Gill broke his leg recently, so he's not able to attend. And then lastly, Rocco Dagno. I can't remember how to say your last name, to be honest.
All right, that's awesome. Next, we have our ICE Scholarship winners. We're just going to make sure all of our students are in the room.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, no, just use my teacher points.
Welcome, perfect. Come on in.
Come on in. And there's more chairs, right? Those three there?
Yep.
Yeah. Are they
On the right? Okay, perfect.
You go and have a seat. Perfect. Okay, perfect. I'll just.
All right, well, our next presentation is going to be for our Innovation, Creativity, and Entrepreneurship Scholarship, and that's known as our ICE Scholarship. We had some really phenomenal projects come forward, and this is definitely one of our favorite things to be part of. It's a privilege to be a part of it. We have some incredibly gifted students with great ideas for business, for creative endeavors, and just really all of the projects that you brought forward are already impacting your community and your world for the better. And so it was truly a privilege to hear of all of your presentations that you brought forward. We would like to acknowledge Christine Lee's amazing dedication to the ICE scholarships. Christine has been involved with them, as has Garrett, since their inception in 2016 and over the last 9 years. And you've championed the ICE scholarships, and you've been instrumental in encouraging wonderful sponsorships for these important scholarships. And so without those sponsorships, we wouldn't be able to have a room full of students and their families to give them these scholarships. And so we would like to thank Southland Transportation, TLD Custom Works, Marsh, DeYoung Architecture, Ward Brothers, Construction Limited, First Technical, Inspirus, RBC, Brownlee LLP, Dawson Wallace Construction, RW Mechanical and Plumbing, Cavendish Farms, FWBA Architects, and MNP for their showcase and scholarship support over the past years. Your help is so appreciated and help the students to achieve their dreams and goals. So truly, it's a community endeavor to be able to support you students and to lift you up as you pursue your passions. So what we're going to do is we will call you up one at a time as individuals, if you want as an individual, or as a team, if you want as a team. And then Andrea will just have a brief reading for each of you, and then we will present you with your certificate and your check.
Okay, perfect.
And then please stand on the stairs. Thank you, Tyler. And then we will take a group picture.
And we'll take a picture, yes. And Christine, we would love to have you join us in shaking everyone's hands, because without you, this wouldn't have occurred. So let's give her a great big round of applause. Oh, sure, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Oh, okay.
There we go, because I left it. There we go.
Okay, that's perfect. So we will start with our grade 9, 10 scholarships. We have 2 individual scholarships of $1,000 each, and then 1 group scholarship where the $1,000 will be shared. And our first grade 9, 10 individual scholarship is awarded to Shindera Coyote Oleyemi. And I will tell you a little bit about Shindera's project. Shindera started her school's first ever Black History Month celebration. She led the initiative independently, aiming to educate and celebrate Black History Month every February at LCI. From inviting Edmonton MLA David Shepherd to open the event, to tasting events, to screenings, to inviting Canadian author Cheryl Fogo as the keynote speaker, Shindera has ensured a bright future for this event at LCI. She intends to use the $1,000 for food and entertainment next year, which is so lovely of you. And we saw signs like Speak Like Malcolm, Challenge Like Rose, and you have learned these well. So warm congratulations to you, Shindera. Our next Grade 9-10 individual scholarship goes to Tate Lowe. Congratulations. And now I'll tell you a little bit about Tate Lowe. Tate Lowe is an amazing singer-songwriter who has written 50 songs and already released 4 songs. We were so impressed to learn that Tate taught himself how to play guitar by watching YouTube lessons. We were treated to a most beautiful song at the presentation. Tate loves how music brings people together, and we could see in his presentation how his music has brought his family together, and there they all are, as they champion him on. Writing and learning how to record songs have been important skills for Tate, and we cheer him on as he makes plans to release an album. Congratulations, Tate. And then in our grade 9-10 category for the group scholarship, please welcome Kathleen Wu and Star Sun. Congratulations. Let me tell you a little bit about Kathleen and Star. Kathleen and Star are part of the Southern Alberta Chinese Association Youth Dragon Boat program. We really appreciated that the program celebrates students connecting to their culture and also invites youth of any skill level, school, or cultural background to participate. We were so amazed to learn of the history of the dragon boat and appreciated the innovative way that dragon boating gets youths involved in exercising. So warm congratulations to Kathleen and Star. And now on to our grade 11-12 scholarships. Our first individual scholarship goes to Vinnie Parker. Congratulations. Let me tell you about Vinnie's project. Vinnie's project of producing a live action and animation film about grief came from a very personal experience of losing a dear friend. Vinnie wants others to not feel alone in their grief. She learned when others reached out to her the importance of supporting others through grief. Realizing that digital art takes 30 hours to create 1 minute, Vinnie has thought very carefully of how she would spend her scholarship on equipment, filming spaces, and even giving honorariums. She asked, why would we trust her? And believe me, we do trust you to produce a thoughtful and uplifting film. Congratulations, Vinnie. Our next grade 11-12 individual scholarship goes to Mia Baker. Let me tell you about Mia's project. Mia's impressive project grew out of a lived experience as she was diagnosed at 11 years old as a type 1 diabetic and remembers the feeling of isolation well. Right here. There.
In wanting to bring comfort for newly diagnosed children, Mia assembled 100 care packages for the pediatric ward of our local hospital. The backpacks include items such as hats, water bottles from Dexcom, handmade pillows, candies for low blood sugars, and Type 1 Empowerment Act activity book created by Mia herself. We were so impressed with your creativity and innovation, as there has never been a project like this at our hospital before. It was so appreciated by the medical team and the children. We wish you well as you plan for future supportive projects, Mia. Congratulations.
And congratulations, Mia. Our grade 11-12 group scholarship goes to the Brass Brothers. So please welcome.
Let me grab that.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So please welcome Ben Montiero. Oh, sorry. Isaac Bartz. Seyran Hussein. Safan Hussein. And Kyla Preet. And let me tell you, these 11 students have elementary school and been in a band together since grade 6. We wanted to support the community while doing something they love. Their first performance was at St. Therese Villa, and we so appreciated their outreach to seniors' lodges. It's so important for seniors to have outreach for their mental health, and you really support them. We were treated to an amazing jazz performance, and we hope you can catch them at some of their local gigs. We appreciate how their music touches others, and we wish them the best with their goal of attending the Montreal Jazz Festival. Congratulations to the brothers.
That was great. That was a great celebration. Always a privilege to honor our students. All right, so we will now go back to the hilarious Mike Nightingale and his reports. We will go to 8.4, the LH Boussard Award winners, so more celebrations.
Yeah, and really nice segue after those wonderful celebrations. We get a lot of things to be really proud of in our school division, and this is another example. So this medal goes to an upper elementary student who shows exceptional creative ability. And LH Boussard was a former superintendent with the division, and the medal's a tribute to high educational ideals. That's really what it's about, and it's a student that's demonstrated outstanding ability, imagination, and originality in the areas of music, art, drama, language arts, and physical education. And again, this is for an upper elementary student. The list of names are there. I believe we have 14 total recipients, and certainly very excited about that, and congratulations. And we have a lot of really creative kids. You just saw a whole bunch of them, and there's probably some list of names on here that in the future are going to be ICE scholarship winners. So congratulations to those students. Just awesome to be able to recognize them. And then I can keep going if
Yeah,
you'd like.
just keep on going, please, for your last two.
Administrative appointments, they are there. Certainly excited to work with all of these administrators, some of whom we're just working with in new roles, some of whom are new to the division, some of which are new to administration. So really looking forward to that. And we've got a few more to go. And yeah, and then hopefully we'll have them done soon. So, but excited to work with all those folks. And then calendar of events, as always, if there's things we're missing, by all means, let us know. We know we don't have graduations in here, but we know you're aware of all the graduation and end of year. Just a reminder, the My First Ride event happens on August 16th. And then we're back at it. Schools, offices start to open on the 20th, and we got the welcome back pancake breakfast on the 29th.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any additions? Craig?
Every summer, Public School Boards Association has two boards that get together and host all the other school boards. Last year it was in Grand Prairie Peace River. This year it's going to be in Red Deer Wolf Creek. And part of that is to see some of their new schools that they've built, some creative things that they do to educate the students. And so anyone that would like to go, please go on to the website and you can still register for it. But it's always a great time. And it's well worth looking at what different school divisions are doing.
Thank you so much, Craig. Allison?
Just so I can save the date if I need to, is there a committee of the whole in September? Because it's not on the list.
I will have to confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't need to save a date then?
At this point, I don't have a date for you in front of me to save.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then my other question was, we had been sent West Cooley opening date of September 12th previously, so I didn't know. That's not on this calendar. I do see the naming ceremony, so I didn't know if that September 12th opening date was still.
I don't know. We'll have to check that. I believe so, but I'll have to check that.
Okay, thank you.
Anyways, okay, anything else? All right, thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to 9.1. Under Board Chair Report, Retirement, congratulations. We have a list of 33 names of staff members who are retiring this year, and I would just like to say that the board is very appreciative of the contributions of each retiring staff member for the positive differences and impact they've made in the lives of students and colleagues they have supported through their careers. Certainly our division wouldn't be what it is without the humans that make it up, the humans that give support to students, that give support to each other, that give leadership, that give guidance, that impact culture. And so certainly we wish all the best for fulfilling retirement to each retiree that we see acknowledged here. Thank you so much. All right, we move on to 9.2, standing committees. The Board of Trustees committee chairs are annually asked to provide an annual report in terms of reference review at the public meeting of the board, the first in September. And so this year it's going to be held September 23rd, 2025. And so the list of standing committees is before you in the memo. And so if you are chair of one of those committees, if you could please provide your annual report in terms of reference review for that board meeting, it would be appreciated. Craig, your hand was up.
Yes, we just need to add the Boundary Review Committee.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Craig. That will be added. And Tina, if you could please add that, thank you. Allison.
I was gonna add that as well. And then I'm just assuming that you probably used the report, this document from last year. It is September of 2024 in terms of references that you're referring to, not September 2023.
Oh, yes, you caught me there.
No,
Yeah,
it's all
thank
good.
you. I was looking at the first 2025. I was like, no, it's
No, you
2025.
got
But
that
no,
right.
thank you. I appreciate that, Allison. We'll
It's
amend
usually the
that.
same one that you use.
Yeah.
That's probably why boundary wasn't
Yep.
there. So.
That's exactly why. All right, any other amendments to that memo? Okay. We will move on to ASBA SGM 2025. The Alberta School Boards Association held its spring general meeting business session on June 2nd. The full conference was held June 1st to June 3rd. And so below in this memo, I have included the member past position statements. They're there for your information. Are there any questions? All right, we will now move on to our action items. We're on number 11. We will begin with 11.1, authorization of locally developed high school courses.
In our last board meeting, we already had a chance to take a snapshot of what processes involved for locally developed courses. And so without further ado, the renewal of these courses was delayed as they were being reviewed by Alberta Ed and have recently been approved for renewal. And we ask that the Board of Trustees authorize the use of the following locally developed courses in all division high schools to enhance program offerings to students.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Looking for a motion. Christina.
You can continue. I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees authorize the use of the following locally developed courses in all division high schools to enhance program offerings to students for the schools for the years indicated below. The continued use of leadership, character, and social responsibility, 15, 25, and 35, LDC 1509, LDC 2509, LDC 3509 for 3 and 5 credits until August 31st, 2029, to provide continuance of program offerings to students, as well as the acquisition of personal and professional skills, 15 and 25, LDC 14110, and LDC 2411 for 3 and 5 credits until August 31st, 2029, to enhance program offerings to students.
Thank you. I will open this up for discussion. Seeing none, those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. There is, my apologies.
Sorry, I am not against jazz. Sorry, I was reading off the one that was on the table. Sorry.
We are to be reading the one that's off the, there was an amended version that was given prior to the meeting that was not in our package. And that is what you read. So you read the correct one. Yep.
You're correct. Sorry,
Sorry.
I was looking at the one in the package.
My apologies, I didn't give the context of that. So it's been amended and updated online, and so the extra sheet that we have on our board table is the amended one that is online, so, yes, thank you. Apologies for that. Nope, I appreciate that. All right, we're now on to 11.2, the draft growth supervision and evaluation policy for reading. Christina.
Sorry, we were looking at amendments. Okay. So before you is the draft growth supervision and evaluation policy. This was the topic of conversation at the last board meeting and then went to policy review, policy advisory committee, and is here for first reading. And so I'd like to move, thank you, sorry, that the board accept the attached policy, staff growth, supervision, and evaluation for first reading.
Thank you. I will open it up to questions or comments.
Sorry, for context, this is first, sorry, can I finish? Sorry, this is first reading because this would be a new policy. This is a substantial change from when we had three or more separate policies regarding growth supervision and evaluation of various staff groups. And this is the intention to combine to ensure equitable coverage of growth supervision evaluation for all staff.
Excellent, thank you. Mike?
Just a couple little formatting things on the end, number 5, that'll actually be 4.2.3, so just a minor thing, it just needs to be moved up. And then the references need to be updated because it's referring to policies that it's going to replace and, so we'll get those updated as well. So just so you know some of that, and we gotta check the sections of the Education Act and make sure we've got everything tickety-boo, and that the Education Act will be updated again this September, so I don't think it'll impact any of these clauses, but we'll just need to check and make sure.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions or comments? Christina?
Am I allowed to comment on my own motion? For this one, I just wanted to thank the Policy Advisory Committee. To me, it's one of the strengths of the Policy Advisory Committee that we have all of our different employee groups. This one was an interesting one. It took over many meetings because as we know, professionals are very interested in their own development, and I appreciate the investment that the members of that committee took, as well as a thank you to our HR team who participated in many of those conversations as invitees to the committee conversation.
Thank you, Christina. All right, those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you so much. Oops. And it will be brought forward in September for second reading. All right, now we move on to 11.3, the draft governance policy omnibus. So the Board of Trustees has been working with our policy consultant, Brian Callahan, to guide and assist us in amending existing policies to ensure clear guidance and an efficient and approachable framework. So much of this work has involved collating overlapping policies and duplicate policies and more clearly delineating board policy from operational procedures. This further strengthening clarity to the differences between the role of the board and the role of operations within the division. So working time on policies have occurred in monthly committee of the whole meetings. And we also the board had a policy working day with Brian Callahan on May the 12th. And so today we are presenting the first policy section on governance. And these policies are being presented as an omnibus, and they include the following sections: division foundation statements, board operations, role of the trustee, role of the board chair, role of the alternate vice chair, policy development, board elections, role of the superintendent. And so today we are bringing it forward for first reading, and of course, first reading is to vote to support the intent of the policies brought forward. And so as such, I will move that first reading of the draft governance policy omnibus inclusive of division foundation statements, board operations, role of the trustee, role of the board chair, role of the alternate vice chair, policy development, board elections, and role of the superintendent be accepted as presented. So I will open it up to feedback. I would like, before I move forward, I would like to request an amendment to this policy, and I'm going to be looking at 12.2 in, in, in board operations. Thank you. 12.2 in board operations. I just want to make sure that it is reflective of the practice that we do. 12.2 speaks to per diem allowance for the purposes of this policy. But it does not, but this section of policy doesn't speak to trustee compensation through honorarium or that per diems are paid to trustees on an out-of-town basis with exceptions. So my proposed amendment would be the new 12.2 would read, trustees are compensated through monthly honoraria. Per diem allowance is given to cover functions outside of the city boundary. Exceptions to this are the board's strategic planning and collective bargaining. And then it would just carry on as is. I will ask the board if the board accepts that as a friendly amendment. Allison.
I don't have the old version pulled up yet, but I know that there was per diem for previously for, yep. So you listed for out of town and for bargaining, collective bargaining, and then typically for ASBA. Like, is that somewhere else? Okay, okay.
I was considering that out of town, so I was just putting anything out of town. Yeah. Craig.
Just looking at 12.2.3. I don't think we do that? One and a half times?
No, we
'Cause on our-
don't. That's not reflective of your current practice.
Yeah, so I
No.
would move,
Neither is 12.4, 2.4, so.
I think
Yeah.
that would be a friendly amendment, just not to have those in there.
So to be clear, not to have 12.2.3,
Yes, and then Christine.
12.2.4,
Yeah,
or 12.2.5?
no, just the 2.3 and 2.4.
Okay,
And would the board consider that a friendly amendment, as that's to our practice?
it's to our practice. I'll look to the board. Yes? Yeah. Allison?
For 12.2.6. So when I read this, it talks about that during the budget preparation cycle, the board may review the Alberta Consumer Price Index, blah, 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 in regards to our per diem rates. My belief, the minutes that we just passed at budget, was that we were tying it to the ATA wage increases for our, you have your hand up, so. maybe
Yeah,
not.
so that was your honorary, your base wage honorarium, not your
Okay.
per diem rates.
Not the per diem,
Yeah,
okay.
your per diem rates are separate outside that. So you've tied those to ATA. You've not tied that. So that's a separate motion. So right now it's $200 a day. And so you could vote at budget time to amend that because there's no alignment there with the ATA. Those are,
Tyler?
I frankly feel like 12.2.6 doesn't need to be there. You can review your per diem rates anytime you want. There's no reason to have that there to say that you may review based on CPI. You can review based on anything you want. So I don't think that actually even 12.2.6 needs to even be there, and frankly, I'd delete it.
I'm looking around the room. Would that be considered a friendly amendment? Okay. We're very friendly today. Allison?
So when we met and talked and went through stuff, and when I go and look at the roles of the alternate vice chair, So we have the roles of the board chair, and then we have role of the alternate vice chair. And the first line says it's the same as the vice chair. I thought that we were gonna have a sheet that said, role of the vice chair. And I'm not seeing that in here, so I feel that that's missing. And then I have questions about the role of the alternate vice chair. So I don't know if you want me to just keep going? Okay. So when I look at the role of the alternate vice chair, I'm not seeing how they're chosen, how they're picked or chosen. So just looking for some clarity on that. Do we know that? Oh, I have a lot more, so I need
Oh, sir.
this answered before I can go on to something else, so.
My understanding is that it would be collaboratively decided at, well, the first would be at the organizational meeting, correct? And so if there was a call for interest for a trustee to want to fill that role, we would vote then. But I would agree that that process needs to be clarified in that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was kinda, then I'd go. So on board operations, organizational meeting 1.5, it does state in here that that may elect the alternate vice chair, which is fine. If that's what we're gonna do, I think that it should be outlined in the role of the alternate vice chair. And then, I don't know that we have a plan in place for how it would be then re-elected for the every 3 months, if it's a rotational basis, that in 3 months it's gonna be somebody different, or what would our process be for that? So I think that if we're going to, I would almost lean to removing it from the electing piece and have it as, I don't know, but I think that we need to clarify on the alternate vice chair, and we also need to have a role of the vice chair, so. Do you want me to keep going? Okay, so 1.3. In the same section, yeah. I'll try to now go in order. I just needed clarity on the alternate vice chair piece. So 1.3, it says upon election as chair, and then further in that same bullet point talks about the board chair. So I'm just wondering if they should both say board chair, not just one of them say board chair. And then 1.4.1 refers to regulation 5.3. I'm curious if you know what regulation 5.3 is, because I can't find regulation 5.3 under the regulations.
I do not.
Okay. Under 10 in the board operations, under 10, which is the audio, video recording devices. I don't know, like I know Andrea's certainly talked lots about our board meetings being taped and not taped and live and kept and all those pieces. And I just don't know that having it just sit on the board chair, that it should actually probably be a board discussion rather than just a decision of the board chair if the meetings are going to be audio or video recorded, or what that looks like. So I just have concern with that one.
Allison, would your concern, yeah, I see you, Jenny, just a second. Is your concern that possibly a board chair would allow it and you wouldn't feel comfortable with it? Is that?
Can you say that again?
Is the possible scenario that the board chair would allow it, but you wouldn't feel comfortable with it? Or that it should just be a collective decision, or both?
I think it leads to two things, is that one is that if it's the approval of the board chair, the rest of the board doesn't know if you're even being recorded or not. versus if it's the whole board knows or understands that that's a request that's come forward to record it, then the entire board would know and understand that it's being recorded, right? When it's just an approval of the board chair can say, yep, you can come and record, and none of us know that it's being recorded. We obviously all know that this meeting is being recorded. When it's just the approval of the board chair, there's nothing to say that there would be notification to the rest of the board to let us know that it was gonna be recorded, so.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Jenny?
I was just gonna suggest, do you wanna just make a friendly amendment to that one so that we can just like remove the word chair? So we can give consensus or not?
Tyler?
I would suggest you have to put in majority of the board there.
I'd be fine with that, because then that means you obviously would have had to bring it to the board and people would have known, right? So I'm fine that it's the majority of the board.
Okay, I will look around to see if there's agreement with that. We are on 10, under board operations, audio video recording devices. It's also on the screen, Craig, in the middle, and so we are amending that to shall obtain prior approval of the majority of the board. Yep, thank you.
And then in 12.3, there's a lot of capitalization of things that I don't know that need to be capitalized. 12.4, so 12.4.1, in that statement, it says that it's as per 12.2.6, which when I read 12.2.6, it refers to per diems, yet 12.4.1 is referring to annual trustee professional development. So I don't know why it's referring to 12.2.6 and what it should actually be referring to.
And we can certainly highlight those for him, for Brian to clean up.
Figure out, yep.
Absolutely, yep.
12.4.4, and this might be a question for Christine Lee, the internet connection, and then the personal laptop device maintenance. My understanding is, so it says that we'll have a monthly allowance for that. My understanding is that our personal laptop device maintenance is provided by the division, so we're not provided a monthly allowance.
Yeah, you're correct. Actually, there is no monthly allowance. You have you have a professional development allocation of funding each year you can draw on for internet charges, paper, office costs, but you are given a laptop, which from the division when you begin your tenure with the school division. And of course, we would maintain that. So that 12.4.4 actually is not correct and needs to be.
So we can strike that.
I would strike that, yeah.
I do think, because you did have, previous, we did have the internet connection and the paper and the ink or whatever, because some people do, I think Craig does printer at home and print stuff. So I know that that's been used by trustees in the past, but that doesn't reflect what is actually.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So we can clarify, we can
Yep,
clarify
just to have
that
it
to
be what it
practice.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then 12.4.5, trustees can, we're missing a word. I think it should be trustees can be enrolled in the divisions. So I think it should be the word be in between can and enrolled.
I actually moved it to trustees are enrolled, because we just
Perfect.
are. We have the health benefit plan. The only optional one is the
Actual benefits.
the full benefit plan. Yeah.
The 12.4.6, and again, this is one for Christine Lee. I know that we've discussed this as a board, back I think it was May 12th that we discussed that, but I just don't know what processes have been put in place, or if we know or understand that they are in place or not. So I don't know that for us to, and maybe they have, maybe you've had that conversation with finance to figure out if that's if we're able to do that process, but I just don't know that we should have that in there without knowing for sure.
I'm sorry, which one was that? Sorry.
12.4.5, so it said the board vice chair would be approving expenses.
I think what we can do, I know Brian has moved this forward as an idea for us, and we certainly have to have more discussion over this. There hasn't been a process created. There hasn't been further discussion outside of our board discussions on this topic. So I think then it's a decision of, are you comfortable voting to support a first reading with this in it, with the understanding that there would be further discussion on it? And should we come to a position where we, by second reading and ultimately by third reading, if we're not comfortable moving forward with this way, then we would strike it out, right? But we, at this time, we haven't created the process. It's not there yet.
It's not reflective of current practice,
Yeah,
because I
so-
approve all the, currently
Yeah.
improving the expenses. So we'd have to actually check to see if our software will actually route it in that way.
Yeah.
For-
So for me, I would rather have it stay with current practice, and
Certainly.
then we explore, and we can always add it at a later time, but I think that it needs to reflect current practice, knowing that if this goes through in 3 readings, so in September, if it goes through, the new guy needs to have that in place and have it figured out, or Avis. She's like, what am I getting into? So I would like to see that go back to the original would be my suggestion.
Okay, so my question I'll just stick with you, Allison. So my question to the board is, would striking out 2.4.6 be considered a friendly amendment if it is reflective of current practice? 12.4.6, thank you. For striking for the time being and waiting for further discussion on that?
Yeah, and we know that
I
that was
appreciate
our
that.
intent.
And
but-
yeah,
and
it's
our
the
thought,
intention we'll
but-
have,
Yeah,
yep. Yep, okay, so we will strike that from, Tyler.
Back to your 12.4.5. Yeah, the wording in there, you have to be very careful because it says if you've amended it to trustees are enrolled in the division's health benefit plan. The health benefit plan is pretty large. So the trustees are only enrolled in this health spending plan or health spending account is how you're gonna need to word that. Otherwise it's pretty misleading as to what is really going on there. So we'll call it, I don't know what you wanna call it. You wanna call it health spending account? Okay. Yeah, okay. Friendly amendment.
Yep.
Health wellness account.
Two more?
14. I know over the course of our 4 years as a board, we've talked lots about doing a board self-evaluation, and I see that it's in there for it to happen annually. I don't know when we were doing policy that we discussed it, so I just wanted to confirm that that's what our plan is, and there's obviously a budgetary component to that. So I think that we just approved a budget, and I don't know that the board self-evaluation annually is not reflected in that budget. So that would be something that we would need to be looking at, that it's not a budgeted item at this point.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's an item, we have not done this as a board. I think we should be doing it as a board. I would be supportive of keeping it in because I would like to explore what that could look like. And are there ways to do it that are fiscally lean? Tyler?
We've done it before, apparently, not with this board. I don't know. It didn't seem that long ago to me, but I can't tell whether I'm coming or going anymore. But, yeah, it can be as simple as a year-end survey. And we've done that before where it was just an online survey and you just put in, answer some questions, that's it.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, at this point, I would support keeping it in, but to be intentional behind it, for sure. Yeah.
Then jumping ahead to role of the board chair. And this one I think is simple. On the back side, 5.7 and then right below 5.7, I feel that when appropriate, advise trustees of a possibility of a conflict of interest. I think it should be another numbered item, because I think that it's different than 5.7. When I read, ensure that each trustee present votes on all motions before the board, is separate from when appropriate, advise trustees of a possibility of a conflict of interest. So
I would support that.
Okay.
I'll look around the room. Would there be support for that? Yes. Okay.
And that's it at this point.
Thank you, Allison. I appreciate those. Jenny and then Craig. Sorry, I didn't see who came first. Sorry, Craig. Oh, yeah? Okay, Craig.
Just going back, 1.4.1, Regulation 5.3, we actually went through that last year in board operations. Because no one received a majority support, we had to do a second ballot. And it says in Regulation 5.3, because we read it, that in the case of ties, at the end, it's a coin flip. That's what Regulation 5.3 is. Because we went through that last year. Well, Christine Lee, or you found it, because we were going over that we had a tie for a vote, and the first one, no one got a majority, so we had to re-vote. And the second one, there was a tie, and one person abstained in that vote. And according to Regulation 5.3, it's a coin toss, but then we also said that everyone has to vote. So, but I remember going through that because we spent a lot of time discussing it. And so that's basically if there's a tie.
It says that in here, though. It says 1.4.5.
Okay,
Yeah, so you have an opportunity to withdraw, which you normally would.
yeah, so,
And if it exists, then you have the coin flip.
yeah, and I've just,
But there is something you know, well, I don't know if we need to strengthen the fact that everybody has to vote, but it is just a requirement anyways
Yeah.
in your duties, in your Education Act, you have to vote. That's where everybody has to vote.
so I just said that because Allison mentioned she didn't know it, but that's what the regulation is basically about.
Thank you. Andrea, was your hand in response to Craig?
Yes.
Okay.
This is not my memory of it at all. We had a big discussion about this, that when it's a secret ballot, it is well within your right to destroy your ballot. Like, fine if it's a motion. We had this discussion that when it's a secret ballot, it's your right in any election to choose not to vote or destroy your vote. We decided that.
And just to give context, was this a conversation from our policy discussions?
Yes.
I'm just giving context
Yes.
to your comment,
And
that's all.
so that's what I
Yeah.
was going to bring up under 8. Like, I totally understand that if it's a motion that drives the work of the school division forward, yes, you must vote if you are in attendance, but just like I would go and vote in any election in this province, if I choose to not vote or destroy my ballot, we had decided that that was true here too. But we did not follow that at the fall meeting. We never had a coin toss.
Yeah,
Coin toss.
thank
pardon
you,
me.
Andrea. Allison?
Just back to Craig's point in regards to Regulation 5.3, the reason I brought it up is because I am sitting here looking at that regulation, and item 5 is board meetings. There's 5.1 and 5.2, and 5.3 does not exist. So if you can show me where 5.3 exists, I would love to see it, but what I see in front of me, and it appears to be the Alberta Regulation of Board Procedures, Regulation Education Act, and it does not have a 5.3, so.
It might be a typo from Brian, but I just know that during our organizational meeting last year, we went through that whole long discussion, and that's
Yeah.
what was come up.
Oh, certainly, thank you. But no, we definitely need to have connections when he's quoting the regulations of where they connect to. Tyler?
I know we're jumping around a lot now because we do that, but back to Andrea's point. I don't recall that, and what I would say to that is, as a board going forward, you need to determine that whether or not every trustee needs to vote or not, and the new board needs to vote on that. Because my position to that would be, we are publicly elected officials. People elected us to make decisions, to vote as a board on certain topics. So for me, if you're coming to a meeting, and I don't care what we're talking about, but if there's a vote being called and you're not voting, you're not representing the people that put you here. Now, it's just my personal opinion, but I think that there better be some serious clarity around that going forward. Because you're not just representing yourself anymore, you're representing the people that put you here. So I think if there was anything that was gonna be done that way, I'd certainly vote that every person always has to vote. So I would suggest the next board, make sure that's clear going forward.
Jenny?
I'll clarify that for you a little bit, hopefully. This was a meeting that we had for a policy working day, a full day that you weren't able to attend. But what the conversation was, just to give you the background, was that is correct and upheld by the Education Act whenever there's a motion on the floor to be voted on. But in the case of a secret ballot, it has its own circumstances and its own rules because it's a secret ballot. Everybody has the opportunity to vote or spoil their ballot, and because it's a secret ballot, you have no idea who's done what. And so to enforce somebody to have to vote a name rather than spoil their ballot isn't honoring the process of allowing it to be anonymous. And it is one of your options when you are doing a ballot type voting versus a motion on the table where we make a public vote.
In response to that is my same response. You're here as a representative, and people are asking you to do a job. So like I said, you can decide which way you want to go on it as you go forward, but that is certainly nothing I would agree to.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, the motion is on the floor and I will, oh yes, okay, Jenny.
Sorry, I had a few amendments too. So just, mine are just pretty quick, I think. We had talked a little bit about number 6. I'm looking at board operations. Number 6 being the agenda for regular meetings. Perhaps that being more appropriate as an appendix to the, to this policy. And so I'm not sure if that would be considered a friendly amendment or not, if we were to take that same information and move it in that organizational way or not, or if that was something that we had full consensus on doing.
I will look to the board if they would agree. Yeah, okay.
We had the same conversation about number 7, which is minutes for regular or special meetings, that was perhaps more of an appendix than a policy, but belongs with this policy, just perhaps better in the form of an appendix.
I'll look to the board for this. Christine?
I think I think you'd keep the 6 and 7 title with the first part in there as it's saying that these things shall happen, and then see appendix, whatever, for the process or details or however you want to describe. I think you still need to say that you're required to keep minutes, you're required to have an agenda, that sort of thing. But then refer to the appendix for the actual details. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
The other one was number 11, committees of the board. We had talked about perhaps that being a standalone policy of its own and us having an appendix that listed the terms of reference for each of those committees. And that will greatly help us in our organizational access to information. And so I think that change needs to happen. And then also number 13, trustee attendance at board meetings. We had talked about that information moving to the policy of role of trustee. That is in that policy role of trustee, that we are to do all within our ability to attend our meetings. What isn't in that one is this piece about that if you're going to miss 3 consecutive regular meetings, the absence, that second paragraph, the trustee who's absent without authorization. So I don't know if we want to leave that in this policy or move that to role of trustee. If we want to keep that piece of information about 3 consecutive regular meetings needing a little bit more around that.
I would keep it as part of the operations, because I think there's a process, right? If you're going to be absent for more than 3 consecutive meetings, there's a process. You will then need to communicate with your board chair in order to be excused for that, should there be extenuating circumstances. So for that area, I would support to keep it here.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
And then on policy development, we did some adjustments to this one. I think it looks good. I would perhaps suggest the friendly amendment that when we look at our opening paragraph there, and we look to the second sentence, it is furthermore committed to developing policies in consultation with those who will be impacted by them. I would propose adding "and the Division Policy Advisory Committee." I know that we talked about having clarity that the development of policy happens sometimes in consultation with Division Policy Advisory Committee and sometimes through other avenues or a combination of both. But I think it's important that we mention somewhere in this policy that Policy Advisory Committee, and right now we've removed it from the policy entirely, and I think it's important that it's mentioned.
I think the context of PAC being removed at this time was, we know that when we were first presented with this policy, our expectation and our ask for a consultant was that it would be really clarified that it's board ownership over policies. And so I know our superintendent is going to be doing a deep dive into this policy over the summer for us. And so at this point, I would pause to see how our policy advisory committee, how that policy gets finalized about our committees and the roles, and how then we can refer to that within this policy. Because it was my understanding that you're correct that the PAC is essential in our division in developing policies and receiving stakeholder feedback. But I think as a board, my understanding was we wanted this policy to speak to, it is the role of the board to create and own the policies.
I think it accomplishes that and still would with even the mention of that. So I would, if it is agreeable, I would look to the board for consensus on that friendly amendment.
Okay, I will look to the board. Christina?
I would be in favor of leaving it out. I do understand where you're going, and we want to be clear that we would have it. For me, like, if the goal of this policy development work has been, or policy review work has been about sort of future-proofing and getting more philosophical about, like, our approach, I would leave out the specific of policy advisory committee, even just simply of, like, what if you want to change the name next year? Like, I would just leave all committees out so that you can refer to them in the committee policy. For me, the Policy Advisory Committee is formed in order to accomplish developing policies in consultation with those who will be impacted by them. They're part of that strategy, and they're more of a strategy than a policy item, in my opinion. So I would not be in favor of adding it personally.
Okay, thank you, Christina. I'm just going to pause right now. It is 5 o'clock. It is time for public forum. And so I'm just going to see if there are any members in person or online who are wishing to address the board. Nobody online? Anybody in person? You're good? Are you wanting to address the board during public forum today? Can you say it, Jenny? Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. All right, and there's no one online, you said, Tina, correct? All right, thank you. Craig?
So on policy development, I'm not, I don't like the second paragraph. may choose to delegate the authority. We just said we're solely responsible. I think a better choice of words would the board may choose to have others help develop the policy instead of delegate the authority. Because we just said that we're in charge of the policy, but now we're saying, well, we can delegate it to someone else. No, we can have someone help us, but not delegate it. I just don't feel comfortable with that word delegate. And we can have for instance, the Policy Development Committee help us, but I just don't want to delegate it. I just don't feel comfortable with that one word, with that sentence.
Jenny?
Do you mind if we get consensus on the friendly amendment I proposed before we propose another friendly amendment? But I agree with you, but we can come back to that one.
Okay, so we will pause. We'll come back to you, Craig. So Jenny has requested to include the Policy Advisory Committee within this policy in the first paragraph. And so I'm looking to the board if that would be,
The wording I've proposed is the addition of the words to that last sentence. So the addition of the words "and the Division Policy Advisory Committee," so that it would read, "It is furthermore committed to developing policies in consultation with those who will be impacted by them, and the Division Policy Advisory Committee," or including the Division Policy Advisory Committee. We'll just say "and," I don't know. And. It can be tweaked. I just want to include that.
I would say in consultation with the Policy Advisory Committee and those who will be impacted by them.
Perfect. In consultation with the Policy Advisory Committee and those who will be impacted by them.
thank you for the wording. I'm looking around. Okay. Okay, Allison? Yeah, okay. We will amend to that. Thank you. Christine?
Are you moving on to the next one?
We're now going to move on to Craig's.
Okay,
Yes.
because I have a question. Just a comment. So you can't necessarily delegate the authority to pass policy, right? Like the policy is yours. You can delegate authority to develop procedures, regulation, that's, administrative praise and documents. And so this kind of, I know what you're saying is because you can't delegate your responsibility to develop board policy. That is yours and yours alone to pass that. But you can actually delegate people to develop procedures and those things to implement those policies. So it's kind of it's a badly worded, but you need to find that there's two different things there, right? Yeah.
I agree, and that's, maybe the word should be, the board may choose to, and I don't like the word delegate, but choose to the regulations, admin procedures, and documents, that's different than policy. And so somehow we just need to clean that up, because it is a poorly worded sentence.
Certainly. And that can be and we can have further discussion on that. If we can't land on words for that today, it's certainly noted that that is a desire to move forward in this. And I know our superintendent, whom we are delegating to work on this policy, ironically, will be able to help us
That's
with
right.
that.
Okay.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Jenny?
I think the challenge that you've identified is actually the word authority, because we're not delegating off our authority as the board, which we can't do. We're delegating a responsibility. And so maybe if it read, I would propose the friendly amendment, the board may choose to delegate the development of policies, regulations. And we just need to remove those words, the authority for, because that authority will always lie with the board, but the task can be shared.
I can live with that.
I'm looking around the room for that friendly amendment. All right, that is accepted. Thank you.
Are we going to ask, because Allison brought it up, and I do feel that's important, are we going to ask Brian to help us develop the role of the vice chair? Yes. Okay, so that'll be, I mean, later on, it might be part of this omnibus thing, but he will do that. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted.
All right. The motion is before us, and Andrea?
I just wanted to talk about, back to the role of the alternate vice chair. And I just wanted it clarified that the alternate vice chair will work with the chair and vice chair. It's not about when the vice chair is absent, it's about being mentored by both of them. And I know we've talked about that, but it still has never changed. So if we could just have that as a friendly amendment to put that as the alternate vice chair, will work with the chair and the vice chair.
I believe it says that in number 2. The alternate vice chair will work with the chair, the vice chair, and the superintendent at all times.
And certainly what we can do, Andrea, is we can work on this language prior to our second reading to make sure that it reflects what it is. This one is needing more clarity.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we can, that's noted, and we can definitely work on that.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. All right, the motion is before, and I am amending the motion from be accepted as presented to be accepted as amended, because we have made many amendments. I have for sure captured them. Tina, do you feel that you've captured all of the amendments?
We have a recording.
And we have a recording of us, so it's great. Any further discussion? Those in favor? And those opposed? Okay, thank you, and that is carried. And it will come forward in September for second reading. Oh, no, never mind, cross off the wrong one. Yeah, I was gonna call her up, thank you. All right, now we're gonna jump up to 11.5, third quarter financial report.
Sorry, Christine, can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
Can I understand what is next now for this policy package? I feel like there are a lot of amendments clearly in discussion, or
Yes.
there are changes that people wish to see, and
Thank you.
there are changes we need to see, but can I understand, what are our responsibilities next to ensure that we get to second and third reading?
Yes,
effectively?
so what we are now going to do is I will send these amendments to Brian. He will make the amendments. I will ask him to send the omnibus to our board. I do believe we will need to have, he has put out a request for a policy working day. And so I am waiting to hear availability for him. I will send out those times, and we will hopefully be able to gather to discuss the work that is needed to present for September. Okay. Avis, thank you for your patience. All right. Allison.
I just had a comment in
Certainly.
regards to, it would be great if we could get his rewriting and rework of all this well in advance, so that we can have time to go through it, and not like the Thursday before next board meeting. So if we can get a deadline
Yes.
in there, that would be fabulous, so that we actually have time to review it. Thank you.
Agreed, thank you, and noted, thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm pleased to present the 2024-2025 third quarter report, Finance at a Glance, ending May 31st, 2025. So, as in previous reports, this presentation is an overview of the quarterly reporting that would have been in the board agenda package. And these reports are based off of the operating budget. So like other reports, it's based on the updated approved September 30th budget, as this more accurately reflects what's happening at the moment in the school division. So there are 3 items to note that have been updated after the September 30th budget. None of these have changed from last quarter, but I'll just go over them again. So there was 741,000 increase to the transportation grant through the updated submission, which was done in November. There's $324,000 facility lease grant for the Christian schools. That basically comes to us and then we pay to the Christian school societies. And then the last one is $228,000 for learning loss funding, or the BOOST program, which was received in December 2024 and is being spent up until June 2025. So again, similar as in previous reports, we'll display the financial data by budget forecast and compare to year to date, as well as similar budget forecast year to date, as well as there's check marks in each area showing where we are at. So we'll get started with revenues. As of May 31st, 2025, 73.5% of revenues have been received. This is overall comparable to forecast at 75.3%. Other sales and services, which mainly is the international program, and donations are higher than forecasted costs. Alberta Education is currently lower than forecasted costs. However, this is just likely to due to timing. We get monthly payments from Alberta Education. Fees are lower than forecasted costs as all possible fees are budgeted for, and interest income is lower than forecasted due to lower interest rates. Then we'll hop over to expenditures. So overall comparable to forecast. 75.2% actual versus 77.1% forecasted. So as we've talked about, the reason why forecasted expenditures are higher than the traditional 25% is some expenses are over 10 months versus the 12 months. And then some are maybe paid fully in a quarter. So we have a lot of upfront costs at the beginning of the school year. So as we've gone through before, it's based on expenses by program and by type. And so we'll go through a breakdown of each of those next. So first we'll start with pre-K. So pre-K is at 76.9% of its total forecast, or total budget within forecasted costs of 80.7. This is an area where the majority of the costs are within the 10 months versus the 12 months. So overall it's aligned with budget. Instruction kindergarten to grade 12 is at 75.1% of its total budget, and it's within forecasted costs of 75.4, so exactly where it should be. And then I always kind of pull the prior year for this area, and it was at 75.6, so very comparable to the prior year as well. Operations and maintenance is at 68.1% of its total budget, within forecasted costs of 77.1. There was a large insurance invoice that was paid in June, that we received in May was paid in June of about $200,000, so this will be incorporated in here within June. And then the rest is within prepaid, so just depending on the type of insurance for next year. So overall, it's within budget. Transportation is at 97.9% of its total budget. So as we've discussed, the funding model for transportation changed during the year, so the budget number reflects that increase of the $740,000. The reason why it's higher than the forecasted is we get the monthly payments from Alberta Education, and in part of that transportation, we get the monthly payments for the Christian schools. In April, we just paid them their lump sums versus their monthly payments. So that's one reason why it's higher than forecasted costs. As well as this is a 10-month expense over 12 months of revenues. So it doesn't look great right now. We're hoping, we still got 3 months of payments to come through. There will still be a deficit at the end of the year that we have discussed. So nothing has changed there. System administration is at 76% of its total budget, which is under forecasted costs of 78%. And then lastly, the external services, which is the international program, is at 77% of its total budget, which is slightly over than the forecasted cost of 75%. Just a reminder, this program is self-sustaining, so the $500,000 that we have for the budget, we have collected over $500,000 in revenue, so it's self-sustaining, it pays for itself, so there's no concerns here. Mostly just timing. So then we'll go into the types of expenses. So first we'll start with salaries, benefits, and professional development. So 77% actual versus 75.9% forecast. Slightly higher, but overall still comparable and anticipated to still be within budget. The retro pay for the 2 unions that the division had settled with in April, the retro pay was paid in May. So that's included in these numbers. Contracted services is at 91.9% actual versus 83.2% forecast, so slightly over forecasted. However, this is where the transportation costs are included, as well as currently our consultant costs are over forecasted but still under budget. So that's another one that we're just paying attention to and kind of consulting throughout the whole division. Other services is at 76.1% actual versus 90.1% forecast, so we're under. Currently, insurance, memberships, printing, and rentals are all under forecasted costs up until end of May. Supplies is 68.4% actual versus 78.4% forecast, so under forecasted costs, no concerns here. Other expenditures is at 51% actual versus 75.1% forecasted. This is where there's travel and contingency is both under forecasted, which is good that departments haven't had to go into their contingency accounts. And then lastly, transfer school generated funds and IMR. So 51.9% actual versus 72% forecasted. So as we talked about with school generated funds, the revenue side is all possible revenue, so then it's also all possible expenses, so that's a little bit lower than forecasted costs, as well as IMR is slightly under right now, and there will be lots of summertime projects coming up, so it's anticipated that that'll be aligned with at the end of the year. Does anybody, make sure you stop me if you have any questions. And then lastly, we're just going to talk about the financial position of the division at May 31st, 2025. So the division currently has a net financial debt position of negative $2.22 million, which is a decrease from the prior year of $774,000. So the majority of this decrease is from a couple things. The first is reduction of cash and cash equivalents, as well as we have the ARO liability is listed, but there's no offsetting receivable. So if you take that $6 million off, then we're at $4 million. So it's a little bit of an accounting exercise, but just so I wanted to just be able to kind of explain that a little bit more. And then the non-financial assets and the related spent deferred capital contributions decrease because we amortize our capital assets throughout the year, so then their net book value is lower. So I know I went through fast, but does anybody have any questions? No? Maybe?
Christina?
I think we've talked about the ARO a bunch of times now.
Yeah.
Basically, so that puts us into a debt
That's a
position.
Yes.
Or is part of it.
Yeah.
What does that look like going forward? Does that even out over time? Because I think my understanding is that's a newer accounting piece, and so that has changed our financial position on paper.
Yes, and so the anticipation is basically it's for any remediation services, like basically asbestos, that would, say a modernization were to occur. It would be anticipated that those costs would be covered. We don't have that written in stone, so we can't put it into financial statements, but that's why that liability is there, to just say these are future costs that we have to, these will be incurred at some point. Yeah, so that is definitely a good chunk of the story, and then just the other is just less short-term investments. We cashed in the last of the GICs in February, and it was the interest rates were basically kind of the same to have in the two accounts, so we've kind of just put it all there, and we've needed it we've spent some of our reserves, so. Yeah, Andrea? Oh, sorry.
Thank you again for making it so understandable, and congratulations to you for your CSBO designation. That was exciting to see that picture. With the transportation, do you anticipate that the payments that come through will narrow that down, or if we are in a deficit, where do we look?
So
put
it
money
is
into
anticipated that, yeah,
transportation.
there will definitely, we think that there will definitely be a deficit at the end of the year. We do have a little bit of, so the transportation grant is targeted, so there's a little bit of money in deferred and a little bit of transportation funds and reserves. I don't anticipate it's going to cover the whole amount, so then we'll have to maybe look at administration reserves, like maybe there. But so yeah, I do anticipate it'll be lower, but not completely gone. The other thing I guess to mention too is we do get the fuel contingency grant, and so that up till the end of May, it's 140,000. So that also will help. So every little bit helps chip away at that.
Thank you, and thanks for your diligence in watching over our budget. Thank you.
Any other questions for Avis? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your report to us today.
Thank you. Does it need to be moved up?
Leave it for information. No, it's all good. Yeah. Well, there is a motion you can recommend. Yeah, you can recommend to accept it for sure. Yeah, there's, if you want to make a motion, there's
yeah.
a motion there actually, yep.
There is a motion. I'm looking for a motion. Andrea?
I recommend that the board accept the 2024-2025 third quarter financial report as presented.
Thank you. It didn't feel complete. You were right, there's a motion.
Yeah, something's missing.
Those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Avis, for joining us today.
Thank you, Avis. You're in good hands. My work is done.
We are in good hands. We have been and we will continue to be. All right, we are moving back to 11.4, Superintendent Formative Evaluation. So Policy 301.3, Evaluation Process for the Superintendent, states that a formative evaluation of the superintendent shall occur in the years in which a summative evaluation is not being conducted, include a mid-year feedback session involving the superintendent and the board, followed by a survey provided to trustees to gather additional feedback, require the superintendent to provide the Board of Trustees with a draft report summarizing areas of success, areas of growth, and identifying future priorities by the end of May, and the report will be presented for board approval at the board meeting in June. And so we have completed those tasks, and so before you today, we will I move to accept and approve the superintendent formative evaluation report as per policy 301.3 evaluation process for the superintendent, acknowledging this report to be an accurate accounting of the superintendent's performance for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 2025, and further that the board authorize the chair to sign the report on the board's behalf. So I will open this up for discussion. Or any questions, comments to our superintendent? Those in favor? And that is approved. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mike, for being a strong leader to our division. You've certainly impacted our division for the better over the past 2 years, and I know the board has seen a culture shift in many ways, and you set a high bar with high empathy and high compassion and high emotional intelligence for those around you. So we applaud you and appreciate you for your leadership. Thank you. All right, we will now move on to 11.6, Policy 602.3, French as a Second Language.
Yeah, and I'm happy to speak to it. So in the memo, you'll see that we did have a request from elementary administrators. Specifically, they're seeking additional flexibility in how French instruction is delivered in grades 4 and 5. They'd like to more closely align with the Alberta Education Guidelines, which currently categorize categorize French second language as optional at the elementary level, whereas the policy currently mandates that it has to happen in grade 4 and 5, and they feel that would provide more flexibility to meet the unique needs of their school communities, and it's especially important when we've got constrained human and financial resources. So did include a draft policy for you to consider. Doesn't have to be that, but just wanted to put that forward and open it up to the board for discussion.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for your work on this. I will open it up for discussion and input. Christina.
Thank you for bringing forward. I appreciate the effort to make sure that we're listening to our school communities about what they're needing in order to operate effectively and offer good education. I really appreciate in the policy the section that, like, just the new policy statement that articulates our value of language instruction. We heard earlier about Spanish instruction, but we also obviously have strong French instruction, both in second language as well as in our French immersion programs. And so I do like the new policy. I recognize that we don't always have the ability or need, frankly, to offer FSL for every grade, or for where we previously maybe needed to do so in alignment with Education Act or other regulations. But so I would be in favor of the change.
Greg.
My only question is this quite a change from the original policy? And if so, do we have to do first, second, and third readings, or does the board feel that it's just an amendment to the first policy, the original policy? So that would be a question that I think needs to be answered.
I certainly think from our previous discussion on this policy, I would see it as an amendment to the policy. Mm-hmm. Jenny, then Tyler.
I appreciate what is written here in this policy. And what I'm struggling to discern is if we are honoring the request coming to us and trying to understand what this accomplishes if we move from a policy which requires us to have French education in grade 4 and 5 to a document that encourages that. I find policy is not typically somewhere where something is encouraged. It's typically a source of clear direction, and so I just have the desire to be sensitive to our teachers that would be looking to this for guidance, and whether or not we're offering them clarity for what our expectation and what is required of them in their classroom.
When I read this policy, I think I appreciate what you're saying, Jenny. I think there's the clarity given is that it is no longer mandated to be taught in grade 4 and 5, and that French second language is a valuable learning for our division. And so I think my challenge with this policy is exactly that. Do we put a hope within a policy like this, or does the messaging that we have around second language learning is a better place for that in our foundational statements, or in that the philosophy of education? Is that a better home? Because certainly French isn't the only language that we teach and encourage in our division. And there's certainly a challenge because we are a bilingual country. And so I think the tension of not mandating that is married to that. However, it is no longer mandated by Alberta Education. And so I don't know how we as a board can mandate that through policy if the government is not. And so that's not a clear answer for you, but I think I'm still working through what does this look like and where does this sit. I think at this time, I would be willing to accept this policy with an understanding that I would like to have future conversation with our policy consultant as to would there be a better place for this to be captured within our framework. Allison. Tyler.
I just had a question in regard, mostly for Morag, in regard to English language learners. Is this a real problem for students who are already trying to learn English, or is it not that big a deal because trying to learn English, they can learn French at the same time kind of idea?
There's no evidence to indicate that learning a third language inhibits a second language development. And given in the 4-5 FSL curriculum, it's such a short spurt, that exposure is not harmful. In my experience working in a country other than Canada where English was a second language, I worked with students who learned 3-4 languages in a very short period of time, unless there's cognitive disabilities, right, or trauma in a background. And in that, accommodations can be met in that 6-week period. So there's not a concern there. I think there's strong indications around language acquisition and brain development. And so I would just say there's no harm in offering that.
Jenny, and then is your hand up?
It was?
Oh, sorry,
I
thank
thought you
you.
had-
Go ahead, Alice.
I let him go. So I as well struggle with this one. I think that second language is important, and whether it's Spanish or French or another language, I think it's important. I can appreciate that in the memo, it clearly indicates that the elementary administrators have brought this forward, and this is a request from them. One piece I struggle with is, we talked earlier about our policy advisory committee, and I think seeking their input, because we have one group that has expressed their interest in this. But where a question I have for Mike is when we're in number 1, so the 1.1 and 1.2, knowing that provincially it's been taken out of grade 4 and 5, and this statement says, so it's encouraged for any grade, but it's strongly encouraged for grade 4 and 5. Is there any research to back why we would strongly be encouraging it in grade 4 or 5? I know when lots of kids go in, it's about learning that second language early, but early means earlier in early elementary. So I would question why we're, what background or knowledge we have of why we're saying grade 4 and 5 in this policy recommendation.
Yeah, it's certainly not necessary. It's just in the current policy, currently since 1998, we've been mandating in grade 4 and 5. But the policy's silent on why that is. I would think that if we're going to put specifically grade 4 and 5 in a policy, we would want to have a rationale for that. Would my argument be that, the maker and breaker is in grade 4 and 5? No, but I believe, trying to read the tea leaves, that that was the reason why 4 and 5 was encouraged, that, it's probably about the right age developmentally to do some of that work. Certainly I took French immersion when I was younger, and I can tell you at that time, that age was really critical for the acquisition of language. But I don't think there's any evidence that says it has to be 4 and 5. It's really just sort of aligning and sort of putting in a bit of a rationale. But I think that's something that as we move forward with this, we need to flesh out about why is 4 and 5 so important.
So I would almost make the recommendation just to remove 1.2 and just have it at 1.1 in any grade. with knowing that we don't have a rationale for grade 4 and 5. Like I would ask other trustees, why are you saying grade 4 and 5 if that's what's in here? If it's not in 98 or whatever it was the government had said that's why it was in here, right? So I think if my encouragement would be to remove the grade 4 and 5. We believe in second language. French is a second language, and it's at any grade. I know this is being brought forward because of the constraint of staff as well as constraint of financial resources. So if at any grade they could provide it, it would be encouraged.
Yeah, and I would say to answer your question, unless somebody has a different perspective from an educational perspective, that's totally reasonable. Yeah. And it could be that maybe grade 3 makes the most sense, right? So, yeah.
Craig?
So this will date me, but when I started teaching, there were 3 programs that were listed in the program of studies for French. A 3-year high school program, a 6-year program starting in junior high, and a 9-year program starting in grade 4. And so a lot of school divisions started with grade 4 in elementary, and they just worked their way through to grade 12. Some other divisions, I did one, I think I did one of my PS3 or PS2, and it was a 3-year French program, and another one was a 6-year. So every school division under the program of studies had their option of doing 3, 6, or 9, and it just depended on what school division you were hired by. And that's why I think back in 1998, that's why that policy was written, because Lethbridge was following a 9-year program, as far as I can tell.
Thank you, Craig. Jenny, and then Christina.
I think it's important for us to really consider what this looks like in classrooms when we are asking for instruction to be offered above and beyond what is in curriculum, and because that means that that time and resource comes from somewhere. And I think that you know, we obviously care very deeply about our students' ability and opportunity to learn second language. And we offer those opportunities in our French immersion program. We have other language programs that we value very much. But to have our elementary school communities come to us with this is maybe something to be considered, that there is a limitation to time in those classrooms, and a desire to be able to honor what is in curriculum, and for us to give strong encouragement. I know sometimes we receive encouragement from the provincial government, and that leaves us sometimes with more questions than answers. And so I struggle to put into policy encouragement, and to not honor. I'm a parent, and I've had my kids go through grade 4 and 5, and their experiences and what they've received in French language learning has been vastly different, child to child and year to year, and it is something that is complicated because it's not in curriculum, and so there's a lot of variability in that. And I think this is something that we want for our students, if it is what's best for our students. I'm not sure that it belongs in policy, though. I think it is more of a statement or a belief that we believe and honor and encourage French second language learning, and encourage it in our classrooms to be incorporated where and how it can, but not necessarily something that we're looking to pressure our employees with, or add confusion in our classrooms.
Thank you, Jenny. Christina?
So a couple pieces of clarity. Just so one thing, just Jenny, it sounds like maybe you're making a request to take this, like, remove it as a policy, so I just would like some direction in your maybe next statement of like, I think we need to make a vote on this. But a couple pieces of clarity. So the 4 to 6 piece comes from because the program of study starts in grade 4. And because our grade 6 is in middle school, my presumption is it's been in 4 to 6, so that this, in elementary school, we use the available program of study. So that would be my counter to me, our educators have the opportunity to use the available programs of study, of which French second language is one. It is one of, like, it's in the same list as social studies and math. And so I would advocate to maintain it as a specific comment, because I do think it provides direction, that we don't mandate it. We do encourage it. It's available in the program of study. We encourage it. To me, staying silent on it risks future attention to it. Let's say our French immersion program continues to grow, and like they've been doing so much work on French culture in our community. The Francophone school division has done so much work on French culture. In the situation in the future where enrollment and resources were available, and there wasn't maybe more specific guidance that not only is it allowed but is encouraged, I worry about a lack of attention to it as we continue to develop other opportunities in a country that we obviously prioritize and have charter protections for French culture. And so, yeah, I would not be in favor of removing it. I am in favor of continuing it. I'm okay to take out 4 to 5 if that's like a sticking point. For me, it's just saying we encourage it in elementary, knowing that my understanding is in middle and high school, we tend to see a lot more divergence of all the other many opportunities, given how many locally developed courses I read off every year. We have many opportunities in middle and high school in particular, and to me, this is one of the, frankly, a special opportunity in elementary school that has been offered when available, and I'm happy to see it go to as available, but, or I'm fine with seeing it go to as available, and I would vote against removing it. I may be in the minority, so.
Okay. Andrea?
I also like the middle ground that this policy is taking, because I know at some schools this is a really important part of their elementary education, and I wouldn't want to see it forgotten. So I think it's important for it still to be on the books, but to honor the autonomy of schools if they cannot find someone to offer it or choose not to offer it. So I think as a bilingual country, especially down in the Western provinces, it's nice to honor that. And I know you talked about the curriculum starting in grade 4 and 5, and I do think that that's also because when a teacher does make their timetable, they do follow the timelines that are put out by Alberta Education as to, in this grade, you need this much time in this subject, and this much time in this subject, and this much time. And I think once they get to grade 4 and 5, there's a little more room to have French education. Was my experience in timetabling as a teacher, in that I followed the guidelines that the province set out for. This is how much time you're going to spend in math, and this is how much time you're going to spend in science and social. So besides that the curriculum starts there, that is my best guess. And I could be wrong because I've been out of the classroom for some time. But I do think, to honor the schools for whom this is really important, I would support this.
Okay, thank you everyone for your feedback. Our superintendent is looking for directions, so I am looking for a motion for the board to vote on. Craig?
Before I make the motion, we will revisit this with Brian as part of our policy renewal, correct?
Yeah, everything will be,
Yeah.
everything will be revisited with Brian,
Okay,
certainly. Our superintendent just needs direction so
Okay.
they can do the operational steps that they need for the fall.
All right, and if so I want to make sure I'm clear. If a school has the ability to offer it, they can still do it, correct? But not, I mean, what I'm concerned about is I want Mike Holmes, like, do it right the first time. So we want to make sure that if they're going to offer French, that it's offered properly. So, but I will make a move, I will move that we adopt as an amended policy 602.3, French as a second language as presented.
Thank you. Allison, would you like to request your amendment?
I don't know if you consider it friendly or not, because you already heard it, but to remove 1.2 with the presentation.
I guess we can keep that. My concern is that there's no program of study for core French for grades 1 to 12. Like there is a program for core French from 4 to 12. So I'm not sure how that would change 1.2. Like,
Can you use your microphone, Christina?
oh,
Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn. Because there isn't a program of studies for 1 to 3, it would still apply like regulation 1, using the appropriate Alberta program of studies. Given that there isn't one, it would necessarily exclude an encouragement to 1 to 3. So if you removed 4 and 5, it would just be encouraging 4 to 12 generally, which I can live with.
I leave it up to the rest of the board if they think that's a friendly amendment.
I look to the board if that's considered a friendly amendment to strike out 1.2. Yes? I'm seeing yes. Tyler? Okay. Okay, so as amended, the motion will infer that 1.2 has been stricken out. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Tina, did you get the votes? Okay. Thank you, Mike, for your work on that. All right, now we move to 11.7, vehicle mileage rates.
Must be me. Are you speaking to it all or no? You can if you want.
Yeah, I'll speak to it and then you can make the motion. So it has been past practice that the board approve the personal vehicle mileage rates for use by employees and trustees when they are traveling out of town. Generally that our rates have followed the Alberta government posted rates. And they had changed the rate on June 1st to be from 55 cents per kilometer to 57 cents per kilometer. And so I'm recommending that we change that rate effective September 1st to align with our budget year and give us time to gear up for it as well. So.
Okay, thank you. And Tyler, do you have a motion for us?
I do. I move that effective September 1st, 2025, the Lethbridge School Division per kilometer mileage allowance align with the Government of Alberta per kilometer mileage allowance rate.
Thank you. Any discussion? Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, we move on to division highlights. Tyler, we will start with you. Jenny.
It's a really exciting time of year where we get to see a lot of celebration and a lot of accomplishment through graduations and award ceremonies and final games and final tournaments and all of the lasts And it's been an honor to be able to attend many of those ceremonies and celebrations for both students and staff. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being a part of those celebrations and being allowed to hear individual stories, as well as watch families collectively gather and celebrate, and students celebrate each other. So it's hard to pick one, but I will just celebrate the accomplishment of this year. So.
Thank you, Jenny. Allison?
Excellent, thank you. Always a wonderful time to highlight fun things, great things. DSC was our last meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was wonderful to get together with parents, and it was right down to last meeting, definitely some great debate and conversation, so it was great, and thankful for all the parents in our community that come out and make school council important, so thank you. ATA retirement banquet, to hear the years of service from our teachers across our division. It was absolutely amazing to share with them the evening, and that was great. The Spanish bilingual fiesta, as Morag mentioned earlier, was able to accept the plate that was presented for Coalbank School, and just that was the first place that Spanish bilingual came into our division, and of course this year they're finishing up, so just the appreciation to the parent community and our schools that have supported the Spanish bilingual program in our division, and just the passion. It was so much excitement. The dancers, they did is it the burrito slap? So it was quite the night. There was over 200 people there. It was such a great evening, so I appreciate being invited, and look forward to more celebrations. So enjoy the summer, everybody.
Thank you, Allison. Andrea?
I was lucky to be the under the sea backstage manager at General Stewart School, keeping all the little grade twos quiet behind the scenes, and then they come out to black light with their sea creatures that glow in the dark, and it's amazing. So thank you to Wendy and the grade twos at General Stewart. I also got to go to the grade 5 grad there, which was very touching for me. Those were my last kids. I love judging the ICE scholarships with Christine, and thank you to Garrett for judging. Just, you saw how amazing all their projects were, and I mean, all 10 that presented were amazing. Took in the Indigenous Awards Night and the powwow, and it's always wonderful to reconnect with families for whom I've taught. Thank you so much to Joel and Mel and Shawnee and all of the Indigenous education team, and for those moving on, they will be missed. Lunch with Vic Park, amazing. Tour of the new school, love seeing the grand staircase. From Christine Lee's beautiful retirement to the board banquet retirement to the ATA banquet retirement, what a privilege to honor our retirees who've given their all. And thank you to Tina. It's been wonderful working with you. Thank you, Tina. And thank you to Tamara Van Cleve and the Vic Park students who provided us with food. When I saw that she was retiring, I was in a panic about the cookies, I've got to say. I want that recipe, but I did tell her how much we have loved that food. So to everyone retiring and moving on, thanks for giving your all to the kids of our division. And thank you to all of you for being trustees along with me, and to all of our admin council support. And Christine Lee, you will be really missed. Tina, you'll be really missed.
Thank you. Christina?
I can't follow that. Just echo. Great. Yeah, that's.
Just the Indigenous Rewards was a great evening. ASBA Spring General Meeting, Public School Boards Association Spring General Meeting, where I got to hear a mini concert from a Juno Award winner, and also a person that's played on the Grand Ole Opry stage, Clayton Bellamy. And I actually knew the songs when didn't know that he sang those songs. Anyway, Coalbank School Council, the ATA Retirement Banquet. Again, LCI grad and making me feel old because I taught two of the kids that went through. I taught their dads in Fort McLeod when I first started teaching. District School Council. I was able to tour Lethbridge Christian School. He keeps asking me to go there, so I went there, and what a wonderful little school it is. The ice scholarships, lunch at Vic Park, and I have to make a special mention, Vic Park graduation. That is special. It's so meaningful to those students because they're honored individually. And just to know the stats, when I talked to the administration before COVID, they used to have just like regular graduation, and they'd get 63% of the kids. And since then, they average 98%, which is a testament to the staff, to the administration, and to the students. And my heart goes out to those students because some of them have struggled, some of them, we know that they can't operate in a regular school, and to be able to go to a high school and graduate is just something else. And so I didn't get to see a lot, but I know a number of our trustees went to it, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that we get to see celebration, and that's just special. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna do that. I was looking at my clock. I'm on it. Can I have somebody to move, I need a motion to go past 6 o'clock, please. We're so close, we're 2 minutes short. Andrea, those in favor? That's carried, thank you. No, it's good, it was on it's good. I echo a lot of the same. I'm not going to repeat all of the events that everybody has already spoken to, but I do just want to extend a sincerest gratitude to the staff of our division. Every person is essential to support students and give them an incredible learning experience where they can find success. And discover more of who they are and have the experiences that we are able as a public education provider to give them. And so to our staff members, on behalf of the board, I will say, we just want to wish you a very, very, very restful and well-deserved summer break. And we hope that you are revitalized like you need to be and find the rest and adventure that you need to come back even more inspired in the new year. And to those who are starting a retirement chapter, we wish you all the best as you begin that new chapter. Thank you. All right, on our agenda, we have, you will see correspondence sent. There's a letter sent to the Minister of Education. Correspondence received from the Minister of Education, a response to our letter. And I will now ask for motion to go back in camera, please. Craig, those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.